Welcome, everybody. This is the Joe Wentz Project TV live right here on YouTube with episode number 2 of the Dave and Joe Show.
Woo-hoo.
There he is. There he
What's
is.
happening, my friends out there?
What's
Rock
up?
on.
Rockin' Dave Byron. Again, man, thank you for being here, Rockin' Dave. I appreciate it so much,
Thank
man.
you for having me, Joe.
Thank you so much. We're trying to, we just got things fired up here, so we're going to give it a couple of minutes to make sure we can get our chats pulled up on Dave's end and my end and all that good stuff. And plus, I don't know about you, Dave. I'm sure it's probably not storming down there, but man, we've been having some bad storms here since yesterday.
Yeah, I heard, man.
And
Well, we're supposed to get something down here. You know.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. All right, yep. Got it pulled up on my end. That's awesome. That's great. Cool deal.
Cool.
So we are live. That's awesome.
Make sure I get this up and going here.
I'm just double checking everything, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll here. So yes, yeah, it's throwing down outside right now.
Really?
And it's thundering, and man, it was raining real hard earlier, and then it just kind of stopped, and I thought, oh, okay, we're clear, and so it was really perfect time, and I was able to get out there and start the grill and get supper cooked on the grill, and then just a little while ago, I walked out there and said, man, it's awful dark over there, and it was coming this way. I said,
oh yeah.
I said, here we go. Here we go. So, Dave, welcome back, man. Episode 2 of the Dave and Joe Show. I hope you've had a good week this past week, and all that. Hope everything has went well.
You too, Joe.
Yeah, man. I've been looking forward to the show here. We got a good response on the first episode. I thought that was really good.
Cool.
Really
cool,
great.
Man.
People seem to love the stories and what we talk about and all that stuff.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. You know, we all share the same. We all come basically from the same era with the music and that. You know. Yeah. And then we'll get into talk about the Dio show in a little bit, man. Because
yeah, we'll touch on that here in just a little while. I'm very curious to hear how that happened for you and what the results were and if you were pleased with it and all that good stuff. Everything like that. So what's going on? Anything else? Any gigs? Anything happen?
Well, I just had a gig last night, and which is interesting. This is a place I've been playing at along with that other restaurant, but that they sold the other restaurant. But this place is out in a town called Pine Island, which is just west of the Cape Coral. So this is literally right on the waterfront there, and so I get there, and the lady says, yeah, there's people here, you know, they're asking for you. So, and this has been going on for several months now. First, they just hire you because they want to fill up the gap. They're going to have, you know, music. They don't have music on the weekends because they do a lot of weddings and stuff like that. But so she said, yeah, you know, last few months, people have been requesting you. And I said, okay. And the funny thing is that I'm not playing a whole lot of covers at this place. I'm just really just playing. But see, the thing is, yeah, which is really cool, Joe, is that places like this, they'll love covers as long as it's done well. But even if you don't do covers, if you play well, and that's what they really like to see.
Oh, of course.
It's more, yeah, they're more about the musicianship than if you're playing their favorite song or not, you know. And it's good to see because there's quite a few places down here that's like that.
That's good. That's good. That's have you like when you're out, you know, trying to book your gigs, book your jobs, do you see I mean, I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't see this, I don't know, but do you see a lot of other musicians or bands trying to do the same thing? In other words, is there a lot of competition?
Oh yeah, it's saturated down here. It's saturated everywhere, but I just talked today with another club owner that opened up another facility, and we're working on a good relationship. Him and his brother, they're investors, and he was telling me, he says, well, I've seen you play here before, so I know you're good, Dave, and that, and so they're trying to get things formatted for the summer because summer is slow season down here because it gets so hot. But he told me, he says, just over there, just this last week, he said, I kid you not, I've got about 500 business cards from musicians.
Wow.
500, yeah. because everyone's, it's down here. Florida is a tourist state, it's a retirement state, and it's the hurricane state.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
oh man,
You
what
know,
did I do?
you're
you
not
know,
kidding. I remember what y'all's when y'all hadn't been there long. I guess it was a year or so ago or something.
yeah.
And then a hurricane was coming through, and y'all had to evacuate, right?
Oh
For
yeah, man.
a little while.
Hurricane Irma. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we got here July 28th, uh, uh, 2017, and it was about 3.5 weeks. Here comes Hurricane Irma, and the way they had it on the radar, I mean, the storm it was covering the whole state. So we couldn't really get out of the state of Florida. So first we went to a couple of friends that was in Bradenton, I think, a little up, a couple towns up, and then from there we shot across the state to Claremont. A friend of ours, Mark, he lives in an apartment complex there. He works for Walt Disney, and his apartment building is about maybe a year old, and it's built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane.
Ooh.
So we just rode out the storm there, man. But when we
Oh,
got back, I'll tell you what, Joe, I was expecting major damage, and I could only take 3 guitars with me. Because you see, here's the thing: when you have to evacuate, like down here,
mhm.
really anywhere, um, your main necessity is going to be bottled water.
Right.
Because you see, when the power goes out and it gets so hot down here, you might be stuck in an area between on 70 in the state of 75, between Fort Myers and, let's say, St. Petersburg. And Mike, my singer, he was saying, just keep in mind, Florida is this side of Florida is made up of a lot of different islands. That's why you have so many bridges. And
Mm.
if they cannot get supplies down in time, you better have at least a whole crap load of water. And you know how heavy water is.
Oh yeah.
So your
Oh yeah.
vehicle could only handle so much weight.
That's right.
So I could
Yeah.
only take so much gear. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if everything blows away, then what? There's nothing I could do about it.
No, there's nothing you
You
can do.
know?
Nothing you can do. I can only imagine how backed up the roads were. Trying to
Oh
just trying
man,
to
you
get
should have seen it.
somewhere. Man, golly.
Dude, it looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead. You go to the store, it's like the apocalypse. All the shelves are bare. You go to the gas station, it's either one or two things. You got these long lines at the gas station, like we used to have in the early 70s. As a kid, I remember
The
those.
the gas shortage,
The
yeah.
gas shortage, yep. Or you got all the pumps. It's completely deserted at the gas stations, and the pumps got the shrink wrap around them, so the hurricane doesn't blow everything
Right.
around.
Mhm.
But for people that were waiting it out to the last minute and then they're grabbing their RVs and trying to get out of here, either on Interstate 75, which is by us, and you
Man,
get stuck on that interstate, you're better off staying in a building, because if that wind comes, it's so easy to blow over a car or a truck or an RV. You know what I mean?
oh, yeah.
You got
Absolutely.
more of a chance getting killed being on that expressway trying to get out than if you do in a building that's at least got cinder block. If you
Yeah.
got an area that's got cinder block and no windows, you could ride out the storm.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right, that's right. So, well, I'm glad everything was good with that. I remember talking to you not long after that, and you said you
Oh,
came back, and luckily y'all's
yeah.
house was still intact, and there really wasn't any damage. He was
No.
very fortunate. Very
Yeah, I was
fortunate.
very thankful, man, because I'll tell you what. Well, last year you guys had the hurricane come up by you guys.
Yeah, yeah, it was
And
it was it was it was close. It was a close call. Luckily, we didn't have any problems, but man, it was close. It
I'll
was
tell you what, thank God for that, because
close.
I remember saying, my thoughts and prayers with Joe Wentz and his family.
I appreciate
Because,
that, man. Yeah, I appreciate
yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Let's see if I can.
that was very nice of you. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're all family here. We're the guitar community. But you see, when it comes to push comes to shove, that's when you start to realize what's the most important things in life, things
Right.
or your friends and family.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. So you had the gig last night. Now
Yeah.
was this just the an acoustic gig, like just by yourself, or was
Yeah, it
this
was the acoustic gig, but actually, I played also there the week before, and I brought out that lawsuit guitar I have, and so I was able to to do something with that as well. And here's the thing, Joe. These people, as long as it sounds good, they really don't care. You get some of the owners. I don't want to say the owner, but some of the management. They'll try to tell you, "Oh no!" As soon as they see the electric guitar, they hit the panic button because they think in one terms.
Oh wow.
Loud punk rock or metal or something like that. You
Really?
see, some people think like that. It's weird. See, this is why how we got the before we got the Gibson Les Paul, we bought a couple of white Epiphone Les Pauls. And the only reason why we did that is I was doing a lot of stuff with the BC Rich Warlock. Well, the one I have, it's a neck through. But if you look at it, right away the perception is metal. So here's when you deal with certain booking agents and things of that nature, they see a certain perspective and they're like, they see a shape or something, and then they think, this could be too loud. So sometimes you gotta, you know what I mean? It's just, it's really weird.
That is weird because I would. So when you do most of your gigs, whatever, is it mainly acoustic, or do you still do your electric?
I still do my electric. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Which is really cool because I'm able to get away with that, But you see, here's the thing. This is where if you play any type of jazz fusion, you could rock it out, but it comes out elegant. Now they love it, Mm-hmm. You could take a Les Paul and you start playing metal, they're gonna hate it. You could take that same Les Paul and play something that's a little bit more classy, and then they love it.
Right.
It's weird,
So let's say when you're going to do an electric gig or whatever, for your electric guitar and all that. So do you already have it planned out? You have like your set list or whatever going on. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do these set of songs, or do you go in there and just and try to read the room and say, well, it looks like these kind of people might enjoy this rather than this, or do you just go in there and say, this is what I'm playing, I hope they like it?
It is, Joe. It's actually a combination of all three. I'll have a certain list in my mind what I'd like to do, and then as I approach, as soon as I walk into the room, I could start to see what the age demographic is, and then I'll say, okay, I could alter it like that if I needed to. And then a lot of times, the majority of times, what I'm doing is improvising. Mm-hmm. And it works out great. And then if they say, hey, I want to here's some Zeppelin, then I'll do, my versions of this stuff. Now, when I'm doing stuff with Mike, even Mike, he's smart with this too. He will go in and just feel out the crowd. Mm-hmm. The only difference is, you see, all those tracks, I have them on the SD cards in my looping pedal. So what takes time is sometimes I got to switch up and down through the numbers, through the program,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's just how that works. But other than that, I mean, here's the thing. A full band versus doing a duo or a solo with tracks, nothing's ever going to beat a full band. I miss those days.
Right.
I'm really fortunate because I meet a lot of musicians that are in the retirement stages as far as them working. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily in their 60s. Or some of them the ones who are, they're extremely active, So there's a lot of really good musicians down here, but they're all saying the same thing. A lot of these places, they don't really have the money like they used to pay the musicians.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of everywhere. I really think.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere. Yeah,
I really do. It's just things aren't like they used to be, man.
Oh no, man.
I mean, I haven't been around the country and done all that, but something just tells me that's just the way it is.
Joe, you're 100% right. It's exactly like that. We did a couple of gigs in Tennessee, but I didn't get a chance to talk with some of the musicians and some of the people. So I found this out through a YouTube video that a guy put this video up. He's a local musician in Nashville, Tennessee, and he said to people, he said, listen, if you relocate down here and you think you're going to get a lot of gigs, just be prepared not to get any gigs because it's so saturated. And just be prepared.
And this was in Nashville?
In Nashville, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I can see that. I can see that definitely. Yeah, there's there's a book that an audiobook that I've listened to a few times, and the name of the book is called Power Chord. And if anybody is not familiar with that audiobook or the printed version, I would highly suggest checking this book out. This book is about a guy who, number one, he must have like a really good job and a really good benefits package where he can take vacation days pretty good or whatever. So, cause he's like an IT dude, so he makes like good money, right?
Yeah.
But he's able, the whole book is about, he's able to go after certain guitar players that were huge in their heyday, like the 80s rock era. Like, right. And he goes after some of these, and he actually does some interviews with them. And I was like, wow, how did he score that? Because he's one of these guys that he has like 5 or 6 guitars, and they're really nice guitars. I mean, they're really nice, but he just never was really that much of a player. He was more of a, you know, he's got some guitars, you know, but he never really played that much. But one of the people he interviewed, they said that they were thinking about going to Nashville, I believe, and it was just they was like don't go down there because, you know, you're wasting your time because there's so many people down there doing that.
Oh yeah, it's saturated. There is a band, they're an instrumental fusion band called Marbin, and actually Deb found them on the internet, and she read their profile, and one of the things that they said is how they get the gigs is they go to the areas that's not saturated, the places that they're starving for music. Because it's always been said, you know, go to Nashville, go to New York, go to Chicago, go to Austin's, Texas, go to California. And in our travels, when we started seeing this, how saturated in those areas it is, and you got a lot of great musicians, and everyone's fighting for the same, you know, they're all trying to get the gigs.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what this band did was said, hey, we're going to go to the areas where we know we can make money.
Right.
And then they'll rent out the venue so the cost is low and it could still turn a profit.
There's something else I was want to ask you too. Speaking of performing and the people I'm about to bring up, I guess it's a group of people. They have a certain title, and they're called buskers.
Oh yeah,
you're familiar with what a busker is, right?
Oh yeah,
a street performer, a street musician, right? And I've actually watched a documentary about that. I guess it's about a year or two ago, and man, I was like, golly, that's you talk about these guys or these people rather that really love playing music. I love playing music too, but some of these people are starving, you know, and they're on the street playing their acoustic or doing whatever, and they're making, you know, trying to make, some of them might make $50 a day, some might make a couple hundred a day, and it showed this, I don't remember what city it was, I couldn't tell you, but it was like different buskers, and they all like, they'll be on this corner or whatever for like an hour and a half, and out of respect for the other person, they'll leave and let the other guy come in, or the other person, and tab that spot for an hour or so, and then it's like they rotate all the time. And but you got anybody that's playing music, people that are doing like magic tricks and all this, and I'm like, I just couldn't see myself doing that.
Yeah,
you know, I was like, man, it's not the money is just not always there, because every day it's going to be different, you know.
Exactly, it's different, and some people don't do it because the perception is you're poor and you're begging.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I kind of felt that a little bit, not with every performer that I saw in this documentary, but some of them I was like, man, I respect what you're doing, I really do. I think it's awesome that you're in a way following your dream, and you're doing what you love to do, but at the same time, don't you want to have somewhere to live?
Yeah.
Instead of having to shack up with somebody, or don't you want to have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. They would call that like doing the couch surfing, you know? You're crashing on somebody's couch or somebody's basement. But here's the thing with this, okay? When I used to play at the Bristol Renaissance Fair up in Wisconsin, That's what I was doing, busking. But it was part of the whole act because of how the fair was. And it got to the point where all the performers would tell me, Dave, you got the best gig, because if you get a paid gig coming up on the weekend, you don't have to be here, but we have to be here. So you could come and go as you please. Then I would get these people would come up to me and ask me, because they would the way the Bristol Renaissance Fair is set up, it's these different streets on this guy's property, and he literally has these old buildings set up just like the Renaissance period. And as you walk through these streets, you'll get a group of people all dressed up in costume, and then they'll start putting on like a sword fighting play right there in front of everybody. So I'd set up playing there, and the first time I didn't know when they were going to start, so I was still playing. So the one guy says, "Okay, we're going to be doing our act right now, so we're going to have to ask you to leave." I said, "Okay, no problem." And then they went to another area, and I just happened to be there. And then the guy went to ask me to leave, but then he liked what I was playing. And then the girl says, "No, no, let him keep playing." So what I started doing, I started playing this music that matched the fight scene.
Oh, that's cool.
Dude, okay. It was awesome because what happened was, now every time they saw me, if they're good, they would say, "Hey, Dave, could you come on over? We're going to do this type of scene. Could you play something to this?"
Yeah.
And then the other performers, they were getting pissed off because it's like I was still in their gig, and that's not what I meant to do. But that was them asking me to play. I wasn't trying to, force myself on them. But that documentary you saw, I saw a similar documentary about the busking. And a guy said, the good thing with buskers, the people who they still have their part-time job, this is their way of performing to the people without the bias of the club owners. Because you know how it is, Joe. Some of these club owners, you give them a business card, I'll call you, and tomorrow turns into next month. Well, that means you got all that time in between. You still got to be doing something. So this guy said, I bypass all that. I just take my music straight to the people, and I don't have to worry about a club owner waiting for him to give me a call. I set up and I start playing, and I sell my CDs, my merchandise. I make my tips. There's a guy that used to do that down here at the ports in Miami for all the cruise ships. Mm-hmm. And one of the news reporters came up to him and says, "Wow, you sound really good. Wouldn't you want to get a record deal or something?" And he looked at that news reporter and says, "A record deal?" He said, "Look at all those cruise ships. Each cruise ship that I'm here playing, each ship holds between 2,000 to 3,500 people. Each day that I'm here, I get about that much business, people buying my CDs or they're tipping me." And he said that it got to the point where he was able to quit his day job. And he was, I don't know if he was an IT guy or whatever he was. So he could still work if he needed to. But the amount of money he made, he says, "I don't have to get signed. Look at the money I'm making." And I said, This guy's brilliant. Man. Because if you think about it, you go down here, you got all these the cruise ships, and you get all that traffic, you're going to make money. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it.
That's like I said, I've never experienced anything like that. The documentary I saw was just just an overview, I'm sure, of there was some talented people. I'm not taking away nothing from the talent. I was shocked at the dedication these people had. And some of them you could tell who had the it factor. You could tell, right. And you could tell the other people that I was like, man, he don't need to be out there. It was just, you could tell if I'm being honest here, you could tell. And there was this one girl, she was out there and she was busking all the time, and she could sing, man. She was playing her acoustic and singing, and she ended up going from busking and playing into some nice places, and then somehow somebody saw her and she ended up getting a record deal. She ended up, and she moved right on up. I said, "Wow, that is cool."
Yeah.
It was cool to see that. Let me read this one comment, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead, man.
Dave, I think this is very interesting. From JJ Collins chimes in. He says, "Being from New York, some of the street musicians there are honestly some of the best musicians in the world. The talent is amazing. some of the guys that play in the subway, etc., would blow your mind. I've seen a few video clips on YouTube of people that are playing in the subway and stuff, and I was like, I was blown away. I was totally blown away. I was like, my God, what?
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely.
Why are they playing right here? How come they're not? But
Joe. See, this is the thing. And I know I've said this quite often on my channel about the people that are so biased. This is the one thing that I notice when people talk about gigs, and I'm even people in the industry. When we would do these shows, and it'd be like a conference and that, they were always giving people advice of what you have to do. And a lot of it would be good advice, but then coming with that good advice, here comes the sales pitch. And the sales pitch is you're going to spend more money up front, and you're going to be hoping that you're going to break even. And that it would come down to you got to have a certain, people were buying CDs, you got to go to this recording studio. One lady actually said, don't have family member take a picture of you and put it on the cover of your CD. You got to go to a professional photographer, and it's a minimum about $5,000. And she's over there talking, and Deb and I are looking at each other like, first of all, this lady doesn't know her audience, because how does she know that some of the people here have members that are professional photographers that have this equipment? That's one thing. Number two, back in the day when we had albums, yeah, we would stare at the albums with the artwork, and that was cool. It was a lot more irrelevant back then. The CDs were like small versions of an album, and yeah, you look at the artwork. But you take a CD and you give it to one of these kids now, and they'll look at it like, cool, and they put it down right away.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? So, or you go to the recording studio, and when people would say, yeah, you got to drop at least a minimum $5,000 to $10,000 on a recording. Okay. So you go ahead and you do that, right? And then here's your CD. Here's your CD release party. And let's say if it's a private function, the CD's playing, right? And then people come in, and the next thing you know, they'll say, hey, Joe, what's happening? Hey, R2R3, hey, what's happening? JJ Collins. Meanwhile, the music that you just recorded is playing in the background, and here comes the great guitar solo with the microphone, off axis onto that custom-made speaker that you had to have because the industry said you got to have it, otherwise you're going to never make it, and you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life. Nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't mean to say it in a negative way, but that's the fact. Only you're going to care. But if you're spending that money and that's what you want, you go ahead and go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And JJ Collins is true with it, but these people are playing the subways that you get some of the greatest musicians out there. Some of your greatest musicians are the ones that never make it.
Ain't that something, man? That is so crazy. It's do you feel that mainly people that would even make it nowadays, they're mainly 20 or under, right?
Yeah.
But I think now they have. I heard. I don't. You might know. I have no idea. But this is just what I heard. I think artists now that sign a deal, they sign something called a 360 deal.
Oh man!
So the company gets a piece of everything that artist does. It doesn't matter if it's concerts, appearances, merch. If they get a commercial, the company, whoever drew up that contract, gets a piece of everything for X amount of years. And I was like, how does the artist make any money? But it seems like nowadays it's like these kids are selling their soul, literally selling their soul to the devil. For a little fame and fortune. And I'm like, things aren't like they used to be. I mean, when an album drops now, album charts aren't like they used to be.
No.
I remember back in the day, I would actually look forward to like the top 40 countdown with
Casey
Kasem or Rick Dees or whatever, and you would, on the weekend, I'd be heading to work. I was working part-time, I was in high school, and I was like, I can't wait to, I wonder who's got the number one slot, and now it's like an album comes out, like Sammy's band, The Circle. It debuted, I think on one chart, it debuted at number one, and the other was like number 4. but within 2 weeks, it's like gone. It's like
See,
it don't even matter. And I'm like, what is the freaking point? You know, things are different now.
you remember when, okay, Van Halen, whether it's Van Halen with Sammy Hagar or Van Halen with David Lee Roth and Journey and Boston and Aerosmith and Zeppelin, when they all came out with an album, it was like, all right, you go to the store, you got to get this album. It was an event. And these bands, they lasted years, man. You know what I mean? And they stayed on top of, how can I say, they stayed on top, whether if they were on number one on that chart or they slipped down a little bit. But still, I mean, they were really a big part of our lives. Now, like you said, Sammy Hagar comes out with a new album, and it comes out 12 noon and 6 p.m. It's old news already.
Yeah.
It doesn't, nothing's lasting anymore.
It doesn't, because I heard that one of the reasons that is because there's no secret anymore to making an album or whatever. Because back then it was like, you know, you had to get in a band and hope that your band was good. You had to work your ass off and promote your band, and then a record exec would come to the club and watch your band, and if they liked you enough, they would sign you to a deal. You went to a studio, you recorded an album, the company put all the money into the promotion and distribution and all that stuff. Now there's no secret, really. It's now that
there's no secret
with the evolution of Pro Tools and digital recording and mastering. You know, somebody with a halfway decent setup can do it in their room and get the same results that a studio can, or close. You know, pretty close. And so now everything, to me, seems like everything is just oversaturated. So there's no, you wouldn't have a shot in hell. You know, and it's just like, why even bother? You know?
See, back then, the journey was just as good, if not better, than actually making it, because it was a journey. You know what I mean? It meant something. You go to band practice back in Chicago, and I think R2R3, if you're still here, you could relate to this, and anyone in any type of a city or whatever. We used to practice at old abandoned warehouse buildings. So what I think, the owner, he rented out the building to whoever wanted to rent it out. That person would rent out the individual rooms, and we'd go there. You'd either have an hourly room, it would be 3 hours minimum, $10 an hour, so $30, or you'd rent it out per month, and it'd get up to like $462 or whatever it was per month to rent out that space. And you know, you'd hear bands playing, or you practice in the garage or in someone's basement. You know, I mean, it was something to look forward. It's like we lived for this, man. You know what I mean? It was something. You know, the hell with I mean, there was arcade games. You know, remember you go out to the Arcadia, and there'd be all the video games. Nothing like we got now. But I mean, I was never really into that. I was into always jamming because that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But now it's a lot of it has gone to the wayside, and part of it is, you're right, the mystery's over, and the way recording is now, it is like almost dangerously close a home studio, as back in the day you go and record on a 2-inch reel-to-reel tape, 24 track, you know, because the sound quality is just, if electronics advanced, that's what happened.
Yeah, that's true, man. It's like I say, things are a lot different. So if somebody was fortunate enough to have records in the 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s or whatever, before all the stuff, you know, before everybody knew how to do it in their house, then they're still making a decent paycheck, so to speak, from royalties and stuff like that. You know, some of these songs you can still hear in commercials on TV from time to time. You know, but I'm like, man, can you imagine how does an artist or a musician or whatever, how do they make it today? How do they even make a living doing that?
See, here's the thing: this is where you find out secretly a lot of those people would either have their business, or maybe the family had a business, or they flat out had day jobs and they were been there for so long, and they were, so up on the ranks with their day job that, yeah, they could afford to take this amount of time off from work or that amount of time for work and go from full time down to part time. I know I read this article. Some of the members in the band Fate's Warning, how they would go on their tours, they would have to get take vacation time. Now, Fate's Warning, they were signed to Metal Blade Records. They were really big. They're still big, progressive metal band. But that's what they had to do. But see, they didn't tell anybody this, because you see, then it takes the mystique away from the music industry.
Right.
And see, the industry, how they were surviving is get as many peoples in here as you can. That's why they go after young folks, because young folks are naive to this. And it's, that's just how it is. We were all young and naive at one time, So they're young, they're naive, and they know they can take advantage of it. But God forbid, in the negotiating room, you show any of these people that even a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes, they won't want to touch you, man. They will not, because they know they can't make money off you.
Right. Yeah, it's
that's how it is.
That's why I've always wondered. I've watched. There's a couple of documentaries I watched where people are, trying to get a band going or whatever, and some of these bands, man, they literally aren't really making nothing at the door or nothing like that. They're really making their money from merch sales, if they can make any money on merch. And I was like, golly, that seems like an awful big gamble.
Yeah,
I was like, man, because I mean, what if I mean, everything comes down to money. You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out if you're a band and you're going to go out and say, well, let's go try to play some different places or whatever. And the guy says, okay, yeah, you can play here, but because I've heard of things called pay to play. I've heard play for free and all this, and they're just looking for a little bit of exposure. And the guy's like, well, I'm not going to pay you, but yeah, if you want to play here, that's fine. And they said, well, we got some merch to sell. Can we do that? Yeah, sure. You want to sell some merch? Fine. So they're selling T-shirts for like $35, and
yep.
Who the hell's going to buy a shirt for $35 when there's, people like, I don't know who these people are, so it's a huge roll of the dice. And to me, I'm like, I think those days are pretty much gone. I think
they really are.
If you want to play, you better have it in your head that you're doing this just for fun, and go into it knowing that, look, I'm not looking to make any big bucks. I'm just doing this because I want to play. If you go into it with that mindset, in my opinion, then you're fine. But if you're,
that's it.
If you're in your, if you're in your mid 30s, 40s, early 50s, and you want to do that for a career, I think you need to reevaluate what you're thinking.
Absolutely, Joe.
Unless you have something that is just absolutely jaw dropping. And I'm not saying that there's not none of those out there, but
no, there is. But you see, like you said before, with using Sammy Hagar as an example, people's attention span got real short, real fast, because even at the Dio concert, before the concert came on, right? Everyone's like this on their phone. They're doing this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then the opening band's playing, and they're playing like, oh, that's nice. When's Dio coming on? Like that. Dude, it's weird, man. Yeah,
it's different nowadays. Let me get a couple. Is there anything you want to address in the chat too, Dave? Anything you want?
No, I really, what you said, you just nailed a lot of it. As our show goes on, we could talk more about that if I remember. But I always tell people, one of my friends, a drummer, now he's over the road truck driver, and we jammed back in high school together. And he used to ask me, Dave, well, how did Van Halen and how did Rush make it back in the day? Well, my wife said it's money. That's really how they made it. Well, they knew this person and they knew that person, right? Well, anybody that needs help, you're going to want to know people with money, not people who are broke. That you're not going to get anywhere. Your best friend, he could have all the best intention in the world, but if he's flat broke, how is he going to help you financially? So I used to say to my friends, if you win the lottery and you're smart, you could fund your own project. You won't need these people, because when you do these shows at these venues, these arenas, they sit vacant sometimes a whole week. Nothing's going on. The guy that owns that property, he's got to pay property taxes. If it's like up in Chicago and it's like wintertime, he still has to have the heat running because he doesn't want the pipes to burst, you know? So he has to rent that place out. So if you're smart, you got the money and you rent that place. See, this is where there's two versions of pay to play. The pay to play that I'm really against is the bars that they have people play on a regular basis, but all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they don't see eye to eye with you and they're going to give you a hard time. They want you to pay to play at a place that your friend's band last week did it for nothing. You know what I mean? Those are the ones I'm against. But now when it comes to really making money and selling your merchandise and doing the show that you want to do, this is where the pay to play really comes in your benefit, because you're the one that's renting out that space. You have that space for the time that you have it. It's now your show. And if it's a gamble, but if you got a good show and you get the ball rolling, some sort of momentum, and you sell your merchandise that's reasonable, where you could still make some money, don't get greedy, you still make money, people are going to be that much more, hey, I kind of like this, because there is still a lot of us still want to go back to the old days of it was an event to go out to see a band.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sure used to be.
Oh, man. How about it? Hey,
Jim Guidry's in the house. What's up, man? Jim Guidry, JJ Collins, R2R3 Lockingnut. Let's see. Blackie DH, man. What's going on? I think that's Craig Tullius said hello as well.
Hey, Craig, what's happening?
I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for popping in here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you so much. So, Dave, tell me about the Dio show that you went to last weekend.
Oh, man, it was great, Joe. One of the original guitarists, I can't remember his name. God, he's on one of the old VHS Dio. He was the guy that played the BC Rich Warlock. Craig Goldie or whatever his name is. He was the guitarist. The keyboard player that played on the last live Dio DVD, he was there. I think. Oh my God, what's the drummer's name? Tommy Aldridge. I think that was Tommy Aldridge. No, wait a minute, that wasn't Tommy Aldridge. I'm sorry. Yeah, someone else. But it was some of the original members. And what they did is they took like video footage and like a hologram type of Dio when they did some of their tours. And what they did is they took the vocal track and they just played to that vocal track, but it was live. The only thing that wasn't live was his voice, really.
Right.
And it was just massively sounding. And it was done so well with the sound. Loud, heavy, drums pounding at you, just like the good old metal days, but still with this nice stereo, clean sound. Some of the ushers, there's this place called the Barbara B. Mann Theater, which is at the college down here in Florida. The ushers are like between 60 and 80 years old, Joe, and they're sitting there. And, you get some of these old ladies, man, they're sitting there and they're watching this. And Deb says to me, check out that lady, man. She's kind of like, yeah, getting into it, man. Yeah, this is cool. I think what happened, we've heard so much rap and hip hop music over a long duration of time that these people could associate this with their generation of 50s rock and roll and Elvis, although it's not Elvis, it's more heavy. But see, they're hearing this with this fresh, new, like really crisp, clean sound, but with that power of metal. And they haven't heard it in a long time. And now it's like, wow. Or maybe they had their hearing aids turned down enough so it didn't blow their hearing aids out. It was one of the two.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, man. Anyone get a chance to check it out, go check it out, because it's badass, man.
Yeah, JJ Collins says Craig Goldie, one of my favorites. Goldie,
yes.
He says, so you went to the Dio Returns tour? That's awesome.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's awesome. That's really cool. Man, good
You know,
deal.
it was anyone get a chance to see it, go check it out, man. You know, it's weird because now you look at the audience and everybody, you know, minus some of us. Some of us we still have our hair, but you know, a lot of them. You look at them and you see an accountant, you see maybe a doctor or an attorney or something, and boy, they're over there. Yeah, this is awesome. They're over there headbanging. And I can't remember the first song they opened up with, but the second song they did Mob Rules.
Mm-hmm.
They did Heaven and Hell. They did Holy Diver. We Rock. Last in Line. They did The Gates of Babylon when
Oh
Dio
wow.
was. I mean, they did all the classics, and it was like massive sounding. And the way they had the lights timed with everything, it was like a small version of TSO, Trans Siberian Orchestra, but
Oh
it
wow.
was done so well, man.
Have
And
you
I'm
ever
glad.
been? Have you ever been to one of those shows?
Oh yeah, TSO.
TSO.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been to quite a few, and in 2006 we were going to audition for them because um, G- Deb found a small little ad at the back of the Guitar Player magazine, and Deb used to advertise in Guitar Player and Guitar World. So she sees this little ad, TSO. I forget the guy's name from TSO. One of the main producers, something O'Neill, I think is looking for guitars. So she thought, well, maybe this is BS, you know. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
email this guy. He emails back, okay, send the promo material, and we're gonna go check it out. And when I found out, see, there's two TSOs because they got a short amount of time to get the show on the road. They've got to split the whole 50 states in half. So the one I was going to join, I think it was the one with Alex Skolnick was in. I think Alex Skolnick was leaving to go and do a tour with Testament, but I think his vocalist got sick, so he had to cancel the Testament tour. But I know I'm probably was one of many guitarists that sent in the material. But I remember in the cover letter, it sounded like they started to show a little interest, not just because of I'm playing, because you know you could be the best guitar player in the world, but if you go in there like you're gonna take over the place, you ain't getting that gig. So what we did was I said, I know what my place is gonna be in the band. You guys are basically gonna be my boss. What's the criteria? Change the clothes. Basically, do we have to follow you guys in our RAV? And how much is it going to cost us out on the road? Versus you guys, you know, this is a big mistake people make. They're going to join a known band, and right away they want to go in there and they think they're going to call the shots, not realizing that you're the hired gun.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
hired gun, the hired gun makes maybe $10 more than the janitor that sweeps the floor at the end of the concert. Always remember that one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so you know, and nothing came of it because you know, Alex didn't leave and whatever the case might be. But I'll tell you what, the gear that we bought, Joe, we bought gear specifically for that gig.
Oh
So
wow.
that's why we dropped some serious money on the wireless systems that we
I bet
got.
you did. Yeah.
Oh, big time, man! And I said to Deb, I said, I am so ready for this. And you get a little nervous, you know, but you get more nervous of not holding yourself back and not doing the right thing as opposed to overplaying. Because one thing I learned years ago, never overplay when you're the guest in someone's band.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You don't want to do that.
No.
You want to kind of lay back and
You lay back and let
kind
them
of be
say,
just yeah, just
go
kind of
for it,
be
man.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they like you said, if they kind of look at you and say, "Hey, man, turn it loose," then go ahead. But
Yeah.
then you got to dial it back down a little
You
bit.
dial it back
You
down.
know,
Exactly, man. Now, have
because
you
Jim,
seen TSO?
I've never seen that. A buddy of mine I used to work with, he's since passed away. Now he contracted
Sorry to hear
cancer and
that.
he passed away. But he
I'm
would
sorry to hear that.
him. Yeah, thank you, man. He was a really nice guy. Him that was one thing he would look forward to at the holidays. Him and his wife would go every year, and they would make it where they was downtown Greenville here, and they would get their tickets, and they would get a room in a nice hotel downtown there, and they would go to the show. And instead of trying to beat all the traffic going home, they would just go to the hotel
Yeah.
that was right there at the venue and stay the night. And then the next morning, then they'd go home. And
Yeah.
uh, but I never went to. Sometimes he would send me some pictures when he was there at the show because he knew I loved guitar and all that stuff. And I actually gave him a guitar. Yeah, I was gonna.
Nice.
I gave him a guitar. It was a Fender Squire, but it was still a nice guitar. It had a beautiful color on it, and I gave him a guitar, and he was going to try to start learning how to play by looking at stuff on YouTube and all, but he just never quite had that drive to really want to follow it, which is fine. You know, it's fine. Everybody's different, but I always heard that I don't know. You would know. I have no idea. I always heard that whenever they do the TSO, they have two groups, and one concentrates on the East Coast or that side,
that's it,
and the other group concentrates on the West Coast.
That's it. Exactly.
Okay, so that is true. Okay,
it is true because they have only X amount of time to get this whole show up and going and then completed. You know, because it's a Christmas holiday show. And
right.
Another thing that they do is the string quartet. What they do is they go to all the main colleges, and you know they'll pick string quartet. You know, minus like Mark Woods and this other girl that they had, but the ones that's actually in the little section there, a lot of them are the college professors from the local colleges.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't know
it saves,
that.
yeah, it
That
saves
saves them
on
money.
yeah, big time.
Money and stuff. Yeah, instead of paying them every week or
Oh
whatever to be
man,
on the road, that would save a lot of money. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah. Here at the holidays, that is a big draw here. The TSO thing. I just
Oh
never.
yeah.
It just wasn't. I just never was really. I don't know. I just was. I don't know. I wasn't really interested in going, but it's kind of funny. Something like that will draw really good here at the. Well, it used to be called the Bilo Center. Now it's called something else now. I forget what it's called now. Uh, but I'll tell you, here's an example. Like TSO draws really big here at the holidays. Now, for it was close to Christmas time. My wife gave me an early Christmas present one year, and it was 2 tickets. It was for me and my son, and she got us 2 tickets to see Joe Bonamassa here in Greenville, and that was like I think that was like I don't know 3 or 4 years ago, and oh yeah, I was like, man, I'd love to see Joe Bonamassa. That'd be awesome, you know. But we went, and I was like, I mean, there was people there, but I mean, I was looking around the venue, and you could tell where a lot of that stuff was curtained off, where they didn't sell any seats, And I was like, well, the floor. Excuse me, just 1 second. Pardon me. The floor was sold. It was like all those seats were sold, and you kind of went up that first section that went around there, and that was sold. But then when you got further up, it was a good crowd, but it wasn't as good as I expected. But so something like that doesn't really draw big here, and I was like, wow, man, that's sad. That TSO can have a big turnout, but something like Joe Bonamassa or something that's kind of, and that's more of a guitar player's kind of show. So that's not a big deal here. A lot of people are like, oh, I ain't gonna go see that. I ain't gonna spend my money on that. They're just not.
Now, so, Joe, in your area, what seems to be what draws the most as far as one music, and what kind of style music, or is it more of sporting events or like movie theaters and things like that?
I don't know. I don't really go to any more events anymore because I just because of my job, and a lot of times whenever things do come through the area, it's always like on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. No, something where I'm working. Very rarely would you find a show that's number one worth going to for my 2 cents, and number two, is it on a Friday or Saturday night? It has to be one of those 2 nights for me to, if I wanted to go.
Right.
Not that I would. That's a good question. I don't know. I would say, I guess it would be the music thing. Maybe. I don't know. No, it might be the movie thing. I think the movie thing might draw a little bit more because the stuff here, I don't know. I don't know how that works with an artist. I don't know how they decide, well, should we go to South Carolina or not? I don't know what numbers they look at to decide if they should book their artist here. I don't know how they do that, but I don't know if they go by album sales. I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff, I just be honest with you, for my personal opinion, a lot of the stuff that comes through here, as far as music goes, it's bullshit. For my 2 cents, I ain't gonna pay no damn money to see that shit, man. That's stupid. I just that I guess that's just me because I'm getting older. I ain't gonna. I just don't. It just doesn't do nothing for me. I mean, one of the last shows, the last show I went to at the Bilo Center was Joe Bonamassa, and I told you about that.
Yep.
Before that, my wife and I went, and that was to see Keith Urban. It was during the Love, Pain, and the Whole Crazy Thing tour, and that was even further back because I got her me and her tickets. That was like an early Christmas present for her. She loves Keith Urban, and as far as country music, that's far as I go as country is Keith Urban because he's such an amazing guitar player.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, golly, I love how he kind of combines a little bit of classic rock, and then with the country stuff too, but his stuff is more rock oriented in my opinion, and I always liked that. I always thought that was cool,
Yeah, that's how, to me, that's as country as I could get. It's like Southern rock. I respect the guys, I mean, but it's like the twanging. I guess maybe that's what it is. It's not for me.
It's not for me either. I've always been more of a classic rock person. The 80s rock. Some people would say hair metal. That was just my era. That was just my youth growing up, and that's what I love to play, and which we talked about before. But the stuff now, I'm just like, man, I see that stuff and I think to myself, man, I'm getting old because I start to sound like the old guys when I was coming up. They'd be like, turn that down, like if he was riding guitar and had a good stereo system, they'd turn that down, and I'd be like, shut up, and you just turn it up, or they'd say on the radio station, crank it up and turn the knob off.
That's right. Just, crank it and turn it.
Turn the knob off.
You're gonna like this story, man. I think it was over Memorial Day weekend. Guitar Center didn't have much of a Memorial Day sale. But then I walk up there and they got a picture literally of the Ibanez I have. They were using that as their drop, and I thought, okay, cool.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
I'm going down the street called Fowler Avenue, and then here comes the kids with the hip hop music. All you hear is boom, 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 right? Well, I have one of the little stereo jacks or cords that go from my headphone on my phone into the auxiliary into the car speakers. And I don't know if anyone out there you ever listened to any of the European power metal bands. Well, there's this band, I think that's pronounced Ogon, or something like that. The name of the song is called Gunmen. Dude, it is classic metal with the double bass, with the epic storyline.
Yeah.
And I guess this album came out in 2017. So I'm figuring, okay, I just happened to pull them. I'm at a red light, and they're over there bebopping with their rap music and their hip hop real loud. I thought, okay, you want to crank up? So, okay, I plugged this in. I rolled my windows down, and all of a sudden and it was just bad. It just blew them out the door, man. It just blew them out the door. They didn't know what to do after that, because I think that was as high as their speaker could go, man. And you know what? I'm sick of the rap crap stuff, man. You know what? I'm gonna start driving around blasting my metal, man. How about that?
Yeah, it's a different generation nowadays. That's for sure.
Man,
we'll be laying down here at night, and that's what you hear going down the street. The whole car is vibrating.
It's vibrating, and sometimes they got to crank it so bad it feels like everything's rattling. The car's gonna fall apart or something like.
And I mean, to each his own. I'm not, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just never understood that. I was like, man, God, dog, Salvador Van Gogh, what's going on, man? How are you?
Salvador, what's happening, man?
JJ Collins made a statement. He was talking about the Dio thing. He said, I was thinking about going to see it, the show that you went to, Dave.
Okay.
He said, I was thinking about going to see it. I saw Dio in 2001 with most of the original band, But Doug Aldrich, yeah, there you go, was playing
That's
guitar.
right.
He was amazing. Yeah, he's amazing.
He is amazing.
I always have a hard time saying his name. Doug Aldrich. Yeah, he's in Whitesnake now, isn't he? Yeah, I think he's in
I think he
Whitesnake
is. Yeah.
with Red Beach, I think.
Yeah, doesn't Red Beach look different, man?
Man, I was like,
you got to do a double take, hey, because remember him a winger, has had his hair all poofed out,
yeah.
you know.
Well, they all had, you know, they all had that back then, you know, and yeah, I was watching on my YouTube feed. Wasn't long ago, I was some stuff was popping up, and it said, you know, Red Beach talks about his guitars. It was what is his guitars? What is that? What guitar maker or guitar brand is Pete Thorne endorses? What is it called? Sir
Guitars. Yeah, Sir.
I want to say that's what Red Beach has. I want to say he's got an endorsement deal with Sir Guitars. I want to say, don't quote me on it, but I want to say that's what it was. And but you know, if I hadn't read the title of the video, I wouldn't have known that was him.
You wouldn't know it was him.
And I was like, who is this guy? Is he a motorcycle outlaw or something? Biker outlaw? Or didn't, you know, just, oh, this is Red Beach. I was like, that's Red Beach? You know, but then when he started playing, you know, I said, yeah, that's definitely Red Beach. You know, I was like, man, there ain't mistaking that. You know, I was like, man, but you know, really all BS aside, if it wasn't for people like this, man, they're keeping rock music alive today. And the one person that I really aim that towards is Dave Grohl. You know, if it wasn't for Dave Grohl, man, I mean, you know, rock music is pretty much dead now. Really,
it really is, and it's
pretty
sad,
much dead, and it is sad because I'm like, you know, there's enough room for everybody. But it's like one genre is they're like Walmart. You know, no offense to Walmart, but I'm just saying they want to cover all the territory and not let nothing else around. And I'm like, my God, man, where's the bands, you know, people that actually play an instrument? Where is that at anymore? You don't see that no more. You know?
Don't see that no more. And when is the last time you really saw a metal band on the American Music Awards? I have not watched the American Music Awards in decades.
I quit watching that years ago. I quit watching stuff like that years and years ago. I mean, I couldn't do it, man. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, JJ Collins says, John, sir, he's had a signature model since the early 2000s. Talking about Red Beach with Sir guitars. Okay, thank you, JJ Collins. Yeah. Yeah, he was showing off his guitars. They were really nice. They were really cool. And he's got one that looks just like, you know, because he did have a deal with Ibanez back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember that. And he had that wood color, I don't know, it was like a wood color guitar.
Yeah, it was like the wood finish, and it had a weird cut in the back.
It had a weird cut. Yes, had a weird cut, but it had gold hardware. I remember that.
Yep.
And so he's got that. It almost looks the exact same almost, but it's got that same look to it. And I said, is that same guitar? And he says, and I looked at the headstock. I said, nope, that's not an Ibanez. It's a Sir guitar. So, but still, I mean, you know, I was like, man, something else too. You notice that I noticed this recently, and this is not a knock against anybody. It's just something that I noticed. It's like almost anybody nowadays can get their own signature series guitar. You know, it's like I was looking at guitars, so and so John Doe model. I was like, who? I was like, who?
Yeah.
Who the hell is this? You know, I was like, well, how does he get a fucking signature guitar?
He's from the band called Epic Failure. You know.
Yeah. We're gonna sign you to this deal here to get your own custom guitar. And I was like, there's no way people are making money off of that.
You know, Joe,
just like,
here's a mistake that I see, and I could be wrong, but, you know, and I get a lot of this. All my business smarts comes from Deb because she's been self-employed a hell of a lot longer than I have. And she used to go to the NAMM shows in California. I was only to one NAMM show in Chicago, Illinois at the McCormick place. And I was actually in the Gibson booth. I got a chance to jam with Adrian Vandenberg in the PV booth, and the bass player from David Letterman band was there, and all these people were there, and it was nice, you know. But you see, here's the problem I see: these manufacturers were in a time and era where the guitar has become almost more like a glorified hobby, but an extremely expensive one. So they want to make all these high-end guitars. You ever notice that? And then they're going to give anybody who could barely bend a note and play two chords, and while he's got like X amount of subscribers on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever, and these manufacturers, that's nice. They're trying to jump on the new thing because they're really like lost. They're really lost what's been happening.
Right.
But the problem is that they're kind of devaluing themselves like really quick, and that's why some of these companies don't last.
Yeah, yeah. That's just something that I know. I was like,
Honest Joe, I had people ask me, Dave, why don't you approach Ibanez? I says, I like Ibanez. I like a lot of different brand of guitars, but I do like Ibanez because that was my first good guitar. The one I play, I love it. It's a great performer's guitar. I have no problems with it. I would not have a problem and say, listen, Mr. Ibanez, you don't have to give me any guitars. Just use my name. We can do name recognition. And if you want, I'll buy you a guitar at cost because, I love what I got. I love the brand. It's always been good brand to me, reliable guitar. But I got no problem buying your guitars at cost because you see, you got a family support. You got employees you got to pay. When these people come out of the woodwork and they expect free all the time, do they not realize how fast they're going to put a company out of business? And if that CEO of that company is dumb enough to give stuff away for free, right. It's like the company that you work for, your trucking company, your boss. If he were to do everything for free, the maintenance of just one truck and a trailer, what that costs, let alone a whole fleet.
Yeah.
He'd be out of business, boom, like that.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Samuel, Fender Guru. Hey, man, thank y'all for jumping on. Thank you so much for jumping on with us. Yeah, you're right. Everything somehow or another, man, everything comes down to money. I don't care what anybody says. Sooner or later, it's going to come back to money somehow or another.
Exactly.
Right? But yeah, I love Ibanez too. I really do. I've always loved Ibanez. Right now, the only Ibanez I have is the Jim Jr.
Right.
But I have a feeling, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet, but I have a feeling that's about to change.
Yeah. I won't say anything, man. Yeah.
I think that's about to change. And so stay tuned to this channel for further updates as they develop. Right now, let's go to Dave Byron with a live hurricane update now. But so, yeah. Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Going around in the background, it's like holy crap.
I always wondered about those the Weather Channel now present. I'm like, why are these guys? We're out here. Where's their?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, get out of there.
Yeah.
You have a mandatory evacuation. Get your.
It's a mandatory. Exactly. No one.
That.
Well, you ever see there's a few of them that were faking it, and they in the background you see people walking across.
I saw that. This guy was like, what's his name? Was in a pond, and he's like, it's flooding like crazy here. And these two guys walk behind him. They're going to get a hamburger over here. Hey man, you want to get out of that pond?
Yeah, you want to get out of the pond, dude? Get up off your knees. It ain't that deep. Come on, man. Who are you kidding? This is CNN, the most trusted name in the news.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Mueller report. I don't want to get in that, but boy, I'll tell you what, I've seen some wacky stuff going on there. I feel, I think it's funnier to watch the news now than a comedy channel. You know what I mean?
Oh man. What was that dude that got busted for that? That dude, what's his name? The guy that was in that little pond and he was that little area. What's his name?
He's
got white hair.
Yeah, white. Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper. Yeah.
Anderson Cooper.
I said he just ruined his reputation, man. Can you imagine him talking to his camera crew? Okay, guys, set up right here. I'm gonna get this little 3-foot puddle and get on my knees. It'll be great television. It'll be great.
Great. We need the ratings. Yes.
and the two guys walk by, walk like this. And I was like, oh, there it goes. That's just, dude. Oh, man,
Dude,
that's crazy.
Not to be ragging on them, but I just got to say this. They got their ratings has fallen so bad that I seen on a YouTube a replay, a guy was talking with Anderson Cooper, and the guy says, your ratings have dropped so bad that you're behind reruns at night from Nick at Night. So cartoons are becoming more and more popular than what you guys are showing on the news. That's embarrassing.
That's the chance you take. But with today's technology and the way things are, I mean, you can have a decent smartphone and go live and do your own weather report out in your yard.
Oh man.
So why these guys are even doing this still, I was like, man, this is a joke. Just like the music industry we were just talking about, all of it is becoming it. I didn't mean for it to turn into weather talk, but I mean it's all turned into a joke, man. It really is.
It really is,
And that's we talked about this on the last episode, but I just want to touch on it. That's why I say what we're doing right here, right now, is where things are headed. It is YouTube, live streaming, all that. That's where things they're not heading there. They're there now. I don't know how long that's going to stick around, but that's just the way it is.
Honestly, the music industry did it to themselves. They thought that the internet was going to be a joke. It's not going to last long, and they just did it to themselves. I just saw a replay, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't have time, but Larry Mitchell, he was streaming live. I guess this was a few days ago. He was streaming live doing a gig in his house, And you're right, Joe. We're going to see more and more of that because think about it. You don't have to spend a lot of money on expensive gear anymore. You can have it set up. That Yamaha that you have, that TH10X.
THR10X, yes.
Yeah, that thing right there, boom, go right into the computer. It's got a killer sound, and you're good to go.
I love it. Yeah. Fender Guru makes a great statement. He says, TV is manufactured crap, rubbish, and mind control. He's right.
Oh, it really is.
I agree with that. I really do. And he says, I don't watch any TV. Yeah, we don't. As far as regular TV, I don't watch that. I don't watch any. No. It's either Netflix or, well, that's it. Netflix and YouTube for me. That's it.
That's it.
I mean, you can check up on breaking news. You can check up on that on YouTube. I can just go to my YouTube feed and it says, breaking news, trending now. Dave Byron hits an old lady with a banana. I mean, it's just, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, Dave, what did you do? I told that old bat to get out of my way.
No.
They call the cops out there. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. You know what? It's interesting to say that. How is the traffic up by you? Do you get these whack jobs that want to cut like right in front of you?
Oh, well, you got to remember, I drive for a living. So, yeah, I see that crazy stuff every night. I see it all the time.
Every single day, Joe. Every single day. I think since we've been down here, now maybe since in the beginning, it was like maybe twice a week. But just lately, every single day, I've been seeing a car accident. Last week, within the whole day, 4 different car accidents. The van flipped over. Yesterday, a black bear crossed the interstate I-75. A semi-truck hit it, and it knocked the semi-truck over. That's how big the bear was. Because they're doing so much developing down here in Florida, they're starting to get to the point where now the wildlife. We got bears. We got panthers. They're running all over the place.
They ain't got nowhere to go.
They got nowhere to go.
They're destroying their habitat.
Their habitat. And I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, a lady, she goes in her garage and she flips on she opened up the garage door, goes to get in, and there's a 9-foot alligator sitting there just looking at her.
No.
So she had to get animal control.
Crikey! Oh man!
It's like the jungle down here.
Right there, mate. Let's go ahead and see if we can rustle this to the ground. I'm like, dude, don't touch that thing. Are you crazy?
Don't touch that thing, man.
Don't do that, man. All right, let's see. Denny Allen joins the chat. Hey, man, how are you? Denny Allen says,
Denny,
talking about TV a minute ago and how crazy TV is, and he says people will seek out justification for what they want to believe. Well,
oh yeah,
that's true. Fender Guru says there's whack jobs that drive here. I think that's everywhere. I think that's
I think so.
You know, you got you know, that's everywhere you go, man. I just and that's sad. I mean, you know, it's but yeah, here the thing that that gets me here is they have the lottery here, of course, as they do in many other states, but they also have just certain things for South Carolina, like the Pick 5 or whatever they call them, Mega 5. I don't even know. I don't play them, but you know, and all this stuff. This is going to go for better roads in South Carolina, and I'm like, really? I drive every night, you know, almost every night, you know, 5 nights a week, and it's like, when are they going to fix these roads? You know, and it's, you know, supposed to go to your roads, to education, and then this and that, and it's like somebody's putting some money in their pocket.
Oh,
because this stuff ain't getting fixed.
No,
you know. So, like I said, it all comes down to money. Somehow.
That comes down to money, and this is how bad it got in Illinois. Just before we left, Deb, she'll be able to definitely testify to this, but a state of Illinois, they couldn't participate in the Mega Million because they didn't have the money to pay out. They were not paying people. If you won over a certain amount of money, you were not getting any money because they didn't have the money to pay out.
Oh wow, man, that's crazy. Yeah, it's the roads here are bad. They're bad. They are horrible. Fender Guru says it's a matter of driving defensively now. That's right. That's what you need to do, man. Salvador Van Gogh says that's why the roads are effed.
Big time.
That's why. Yeah, that's right. Mr. JJ Collins says, although is it either or although? The driving was bad in New York until I moved to Phoenix. Craziest driving that I've ever seen. Wow, man. Arvon Gaunt, is that Gaunt?
What's happening? Yeah, Arvon Gaunt. Yeah.
Hey man,
what's
how are you,
man?
He says, "Evening, Dave and Joe and the Fender Guru. Thank you, man, for being here. It's very kind of you to stop in. Thank you so much."
Absolutely, man.
But we're just talking about whatever tonight. It's just if anybody's got anything in the chat you want to throw our way and we think it's interesting to discuss, we'll do it. You know, so it's just an open forum tonight. We're talking music, guitars, we're talking crazy people, weather, you know, and whatever, you know,
whatever goes, man.
Whatever. It's just, and I just preach. Preach, yeah, preach. Lucretia girl, I appreciate y'all being here to take a minute to join us. That's what. So, and this is what it's about, man. You know, people stopping in saying hey, and we're just all chatting for a little bit.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. You know, I was going to ask you, Joe, since you talking about the gear, those pedals that you got. I forget what they're called. One's got like the '80s theme. You know, the '80s.
It's by Sonic Cake. Yeah, Sonic Cake. One's called the Rock Stage, and one is called the Black, and one is called the Black Hammer. The Rock Stage is more of a '80s rock tone, and the Black Hammer is more of a metal tone. Yeah, those are really great for under $100. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I was going to say the one that has the metal tone. I think you said that's the one that it's got a booster. The one that has the '80s sound really doesn't have a booster.
The metal, the black. What did I just call? What did I say it was? The Black Hammer. Yeah, it has a boost. You got different buttons on there that represent, you know, like for your pedals or whatever. And the one is a boost. Yeah, and it works great. I wish the Rock Stage had that, but what I did is I just connected the two together with a little connector, and I used the boost on this one to coincide with the Rock Stage.
I was about to say that because what you could do is you know, run your guitar through the Rock Stage, and then the output of the Rock Stage run it into the other one, and turn all the effects that you don't want to use on the other one, but just have that boost.
Yeah,
so you'll have it go through. Yeah,
click on it. Yeah, and I said, I wonder if that'll work, and it worked. But
nice.
Yeah, for a musician, if I can say it, a musician that's on a budget, which that's pretty much all of us, you know.
It's all of us, man.
If you like to, you know, for a quick, simple setup, that's really not a bad deal. I mean, you could,
and it sounds great.
For what it is, it sounds fantastic. You can go straight into a PA or a clean amp, you know, and it's just that one that one unit. You just carry that in your power supply, and that's it. You know, a couple of cables,
go, man.
and you're good to go. I mean, you know, yes, there's plenty of floor effects processors out there. I know that, but for this to be the price point, I think one of them was, I think the Black Hammer cost me it's like $75 or $80, and then the Rock Stage, I nabbed it for like $65.
That's incredible.
And for those 4 or 5 effects, and if you notice, it's the 4 or 5 effects that you need.
Right.
The ones that would be the most important in a pedal chain, right? You know, reverb,
exactly.
Delay, distortion, chorus.
Yep.
I was like, really? What else do you really need?
That was a classic 80s metal sound to begin with. Distortion, delay, and chorus.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great for what it is. I've done reviews on both on this channel. If you just if you go back and look, or you just go to my channel and search, you know, the Sonic Cake Black Hammer or Sonic Cake Rock Stage, it'll pull it up and you can see that review. And I actually had a guy from the company comment on both videos. I thought was really nice. I thought that was really cool. And he just said that, thank you very much for doing the review and all that. Cause I spent my own money. I mean, I don't have nobody, I don't get nothing from anybody. The stuff I get, I pay for, you know, I don't get nothing coming my way.
Yeah. Joe, I see more value in that. Now, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people if they want to do specific demo videos and they got companies that want to send them stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, you know, but there's something that when a person actually spends their own money,
you're going to get
a
more honest review. Yeah, you're going to yeah, would I be tempted to do a review for a company if they sent me a product? Yeah, but it's going to be kind of biased. I mean, if you want to be honest, you're going to kind of be leaning toward the company. They're not going to send you a guitar or something, and you get on here and say, you know, ABC Guitar Company sent me this guitar, but guess what, folks? It's a piece of shit. I mean, you're not going to do that. You know, they're going to be like, let's blackball this son of a bitch, and he'll never come on again. I mean, but that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
But if when I get something and I don't do many reviews because I just don't. I'm the kind of person that when I find something that I want, I get it, and I put it into my little setup here, and I use it, and I spend my own money on it, and I value it more. And you're going to get, like you said, you're going to get my honest opinion on it too. You know, because I spent my money on it. Is, you know, but yeah, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's. Oh yeah. Everybody has their own thing, and I'm not knocking any of that. But yeah, you have somebody review something that they paid their own money for, as opposed to somebody that was given something. Sometimes you're going to have a difference. You're going to have a difference, because I guarantee you the man that paid for that stuff, he's not going to tell you a lie because he spent his own money on it. Exactly. And that's why when I'm looking at something on Amazon or whatever, which I think that's what we all do. We pretty much do Amazon now. I know I do. And the first thing I'll go to is the reviews. You know, if the product I'm wanting, I'll look how many stars it has, and I'll look at the reviews. If the reviews are good, that's what I'll base my decision on. I'm like, okay, is this going to be worth it? Or is, you know, if the reviews are good, they got my business, period. Yeah, you know, exactly. Yeah, it's the way it is. And, you know, it's crazy here in South Carolina. It wasn't long ago they opened a Amazon warehouse. So whenever I order something from Amazon, I'll get it. Sometimes I'll get it in a day. These strings right here, I actually have them right here, Dave. Let me show you this. Yeah, there you go. This 3-pack of strings right here. D'Addario, whatever people say. I always say D'Addario. 3-pack. 3 packs, gauge 9 to 42. Amazon.com. I did not go to Guitar Center. Guitar Center, yes, there's a Guitar Center here, but then you have to get in your car and drive all the way across town. And then you have to go, which I thought was interesting. I saw a video of why a lot of retail stuff is falling, because people don't want to deal with salespeople. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want that friction. They want to get in there, be able to buy what they want to get, you know, and leave. And then, because every time I go to Guitar Center, and I'm Guitar Center, I don't mean no negativity. Yeah. But every time I go, are you a member of our string club? I was like, no, dude, no, I'm not. Well, would you like to? No, man, I just want the strings, or if I, you want a
They
warranty with
give
that?
you the spiel, right?
Yeah, and
Exact. It's
I
a
look at
pack of strings.
I looked at this one dude. I looked at him, and I wasn't trying to be rude, and he probably thought I was an asshole, and I wasn't trying to be. I said, look, dude, I just want the strings. I said, I don't come here that many times a year to be in a string club or to purchase something extra for whatever. I said, I just want the strings. So to avoid that, Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
And I got it in 24 hours later, it was here. I said, well, there you go. That saves me from having to go to Guitar Center.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, we got an Amazon a warehouse down here as well. But you're right with Guitar Center. We bought so much stuff from Guitar Center. It got to the point where we've actually done a couple of performances at the Naperville, Illinois Guitar Center because the manager says, Dave, you bought in some like stock. You should own stock. You're like one of the shareholders, man.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when we buy, the only thing that we ever get an extended warranty on, the only thing is our car. We don't get extended warranty on anything, man. This stuff's gonna fall apart.
That to me, to each his own.
To each his own, yeah.
To each his own. But when I go even to Walmart now, even if I go to Walmart and I get something from the electronics department, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to, do you want the 2-year protection plan? I'm like, no, I don't, because what I'm going to do is if I'm going to, if I'm guessing this really isn't going to break down that quickly, but if it does, I'll just bring it back and exchange it, or something,
and here's the thing. Some of that extended warranty, it doesn't cover on certain things like they say it does.
Yeah.
Then you go to send it back, and then here comes the surprise. So why would I want to give them extra money for something that, first of all, is really pretty cheap, and then third of all, I gotta wait for it. It's even worse when you have gigs. If you got all these gigs set up, you don't have downtime. I mean, I don't know what kind of world some of these people live in. They must live in a bubble or something. But that's not how it really is. The club owner I talked to today, he wanted to book me for yesterday, but I already had a gig because he said, Dave, the guy didn't show up. So I need people that's reliable. So if I need to call you, do you think you could make it? I says, yeah, as long as you give me at least like a 48-hour notice, I could do that.
Right.
So see, it's go, 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 go. So I don't have time to ding dong around with an extended warranty. They're going to send it back to the manufacturer. Yeah. And then you find out the manufacturer, like now Digitech, what happened to Digitech? There's a manufacturer. I don't know what's going on with them. Robert's Guitar Dungeon, he said that the guy that's responsible for a lot of the newer Digitech and DoD pedals, I think his name is Tom Cram. He started his own company. I like to get in touch with that guy because when I have to do stuff live on the fly, this Digitech effect processor, this RP360, it's the only one that I've seen that if I had to lay down a bass line like that, I could do it and it sounds, it fills the room up and it doesn't sound muddy.
No, it sounds
I don't see that. I want to see people actually demo this out of the Helix, out of the Fractal, out of the Head Rush, and I'm not knocking those pedals, but I'm in a different situation where I got to do stuff sometimes live on the fly. I could get, it's kind of embarrassing, Joe. A pedal that's now $150 could do more than a pedal that's $1,500, and I'm not knocking the Helix. It sounds great. It could do a lot of great things, but for that kind of money, I should be able to outdo everything I have. You know what I mean?
You're right. I agree. That's why
I don't see the value.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that again, this is just my 2 cents. I think that if I can get the tones I get out of the THR-10X or the Sonic Cake products, and
there you go.
That's for a fraction of the price. Why in the hell do I need to spend $1,500 freaking dollars on a guitar effects processor that's, like that's part of a battleship, and you have to have a college degree to know how to operate it? I'm like, man, take that shit somewhere else, man. I don't want that. I mean, well, if you're in a traveling band, all you need is this right here. And I'm like, man, come on, man. God almighty. Not everybody's got money like you, dude. I mean, come on. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it's just I get so sick of that crap. I'm like,
Joe, when I hear people say that, I know they don't know what they're talking about. Are you kidding me? Then they say, oh, it's not the fly rig. Fly rig, back in what? When we first went over to Europe in 2006, we took our small pedals, we stuck it in a duffel bag. I stuck it in the seat underneath the seat in front of me. I had my guitar in my gig bag. I stuck it in the overhead. That was my fly rig. And now
yeah,
these people, do you know what they do? And I know there's people that's big fan of this stuff, so I'm not knocking them. That's your money. Of course, it sounds good. But when I hear these people make some of these statements, well, you know what? The real gigging musicians, they do this. These people sit in a room and that's all they do. And they're going to tell me about gigging. I'm out there gigging. And when you come down here in Florida in this hot weather and you're outside, and you know what they say down here, Joe? If rain or shine, the event goes on. So if you're the hired musician, you're out there playing, rain or
wow,
shine, you're going to play. So if you get wet, that expensive $1,500 Helix is going to get wet. So
yeah,
do you have another $1,500? You could just go down the street and buy another one. I'll tell you what, Mom, we'll buy one of each color. How's that? His and hers. You know what I mean?
yeah. I like to have $1,500. Period.
I like to keep the money.
Yeah,
I'll buy that cakewalk that you got for what, $60, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna be real embarrassing if that thing sounds. If you could mop the floor with that pedal, that's gonna shut everyone up on it. And again, I know people might not like my statements when I say that, but I don't want to see people get had bad, because you watch and see down the road. Let's see how popular this bandwagon is. I hope it is popular. I hope it just opens up doors, because these people are spending money I don't think they really have. They whip out the fantastic plastic, the credit card, and they
yeah.
put themselves in debt. And next thing you know, they got to pay off that with that high interest rate. Man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Uh, that's why when I do things here on this channel, I always call it the poor man's way, because that's basically what it is. But you know what? It works, and
It works.
it works for me. And this is my way. This is my platform of playing live. When I do play music on here, play live in front of however many people tune in, 15, 20, 30, whatever, 100, whatever the case may be. We talked about that on the last show, but I don't need to pour a whole lot of money into a decent sounding rig for what I'm doing right here. I mean, that's just my opinion. Let me touch on a couple of these comments, Rocky Dave,
sure, man.
if you don't mind.
Oh, no, go on. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Let me go back. I was just letting people get caught up in the chat. Salvador Van Gogh says he's about to get a paintbrush in his hand. Yeah, check out Salvador Van Gogh. Man, he's a great artist. I've done a lot of music. That's Jason Shambera. That's he's the other half of Shambera and Wentz. We've done a lot of
nice, man,
music together. That's Jason right there. Jason, what's going on, man? Arvon Gaunt says, "Oh, all of my favorite subjects." When we said we was talking about whatever, the weather, music, crazy drivers, all that. JJ Collins talk about the Sonic Cake pedals. He says he's definitely going to get one of those pedals for himself sometime. And Salvador Van Gogh actually posted a link in the chat for the Shambera and Wentz playlist on YouTube. That's very awesome, man. Thank you.
Great.
I think we got like 29 songs or 30 songs or something. Pretty cool, man.
I'll tell you what, Joe. Yeah, you're rocking. You guys are rocking it. And I'll tell you what, man. Every time you play live, you got a killer sound, great performance, man. You see, that's what I mean. I would buy the stuff that you use. When you said the poor man's group, one of my best friends, Andy Rios, we grew up jamming and practicing together. He would always tell me, Dave, it's the cheap stuff. It's your hands. If you got to use the cheap stuff, so what? It's really coming from your hands. He said, but the cheap stuff works.
Yes, that's right.
The most iconic classic rock songs that we love, they didn't have all this crap. You had either an MXR Distortion Plus, a Boss Distortion, DS1, the Chorus Ensemble. You had basic stuff. That's what you had.
Yeah.
And when you go see a blues guitarist, back in the day, a blues guitarist, you know what they do? They do this. They take a chord, they plug it into the guitar, and the other end goes into the amp, and that's it.
That's it.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. What effects are you using? My hands.
My hands.
Let's
Reverb.
yeah, yeah,
amp.
yeah. This tweed amp over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
That's
Jim Guidry told me a story a month or so ago. There was a guy that he knew that lived close to him. He said if you hadn't have witnessed it, you wouldn't have believed it. He said, but this guy had like this cheap, I want to say it was like a Les Paul type guitar. He had a cheap amp. He said all his gear looked like crap. But when the guy plugged up, he said he was an incredible player. He said he just didn't have the money to invest in real nice equipment. He said, but I think though the guy cared more about drinking than anything else. I think most of his money went to,
hoisting a 12-ouncer, you know.
It's a Mad Dog 2020 Lucretia girl. But he bring me some of that damn put something in that collection plate while you come around. But anyway, but he said it just you're right. It's the hands, it's
the hands.
That's 90% of it, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the strings from Guitar Center and the String Club and all that. JJ Collins says String Club, you can buy strings way cheaper on Amazon or Sweetwater, musician's friend with no BS attached. That's right. And that's why people are going that route, in my opinion. That's why I do it. I can get on there. I can get on my phone, go to Amazon.com, or right now you can be a Prime member. Try a 30-day trial free. Just put in the code Dave Byron. No, and so
Joe Wentz.
Yes, and you can, there's no commitment, no nothing. You just go, this is what I want. Pay now, and you're done. You don't have to deal with any crazy stuff.
No, you don't.
JJ Collins also chimes in. It gets to the point where you just buy gear that works for you. Price need not matter.
Right.
It jumped there. I'm sorry. You can get great gear for cheap money nowadays. If it costs $150 and it works for you, then that's fantastic. Yep. I agree. Let's see. R2R3 is a poor man's way is all right, Joe. Yeah, I it works for me, man. I appreciate that, R2. Yeah, and JJ Collins says that was what he was going to say as well. And R2 chimes in with Lucretia girl. Yeah, I love it. Man. Oh, we're having a good time here, man. Having a good time. So, Dave, let me ask you now. You heard my side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do a lot of business on Amazon when it comes to guitar strings, picks, accessories, or do you go to Guitar Center? I mean,
I've been going to Guitar Center. I'll get stuff at Sweetwater, but I had thought about doing a lot more with Amazon. And I don't know if I'm sure a lot of you might be aware of this. I don't know how well this works, but you could be just call like an affiliate salesperson, where you buy something and you just spot yeah, I got this at Amazon.com, and just because you mention that, now I think you have to sign up to do this, but just what you did right there, Joe, with the strings. So let's say you signed up to do this. I mean, you don't have to be a specialist really in anything. Yeah, I got these strings, Amazon.com. They did a great deal for me. Great brand of strings. Go check them out. Well, if anyone that goes to Amazon and let's say they don't buy the strings, but guess what? Now the toilet's backed up. Oh, I need a couple of plungers. And they buy a plunger and they say, hey, well, what made you come over here? Well, Joe Wentz was talking about some guitar strings, and I figure I needed this, so I bought something. So now you start getting kickback.
That's a great segue, Dave. That Joe Wentz was talking about, he was talking, so I needed a plunger. That son of a bitch sounds like shit. It reminds me of a plunger. Give me a plunger over here. Go to Amazon.com. Amazon.com today for all your
everything's on Amazon.
Yeah, it is. It's everything. I'm telling you, and it's not going to be long. I've heard talk about this. It's not going to be long before Amazon passes Walmart and Amazon becomes the top dog as far as the retail giant.
Yeah, and you know what? They're starting to do that in certain segment or certain aspects and certain products. So sometimes, I hear on the news, they'll give a little bit of the business report. And then one guy said the other day that, Yeah, it's already starting to happen on certain items. So now Walmart is going to try to come up with some way to do their online advertising and sales to try to counteract. Because see, this is the problem with Walmart did. Walmart was cool in the beginning, but you see, they opened up. I gotta raise this. The cat wants to jump on this. So they opened up all these brick and mortar buildings. So there's their overhead right there. Now they staff them. Now, of course, everybody wants $15 an hour. Even if they call in sick, they're expecting to get $15 an hour. You know what I mean? So what happens is now they got to be strategic because now they're starting to lose money because Amazon came right in the back door and just started wiping people out, man.
Yeah, I mean, now, speaking of Walmart, I mean, I went there today. I bet we hit up Walmart at least, or my wife, she'll go twice a week, and I'll go, once on the weekend. But well, I went today to get stuff for supper, but then sometimes we'll go on Saturday, or my wife will go on Sunday and get the groceries and all that. So it's yeah, we still hit up Walmart all the time, and thank God they're just right up the road and all that stuff. But it just blows my mind how things have changed, as far as like we said, online shopping, and I'm like, well, what are they going to do to try to keep up with that? Because do you remember, back in the day, you had, of course, you had VCR tapes, and then you had video rental stores. And, I thought that would never go away. It was, as I got older, those started to slowly diminish. Blockbuster, one of the biggest movie rental places in history, they started to slowly disappear. And then there was this little thing that was invented called Redbox that you started to see in Walmarts all the time. And then again, this is something that was invented where you don't have to deal with anybody trying to coax you into a warranty or you'll apply for our video card or something. You don't have to deal with nothing. You just go up there, you pick out what movie you want, you run your debit card or whatever, you get your movie, and you go up there and you take it back. Hey, Mark Dillon, how are you, man? Thank you for stopping in. And
good having, Mark.
And so, but now with the advancement of digital, Redbox is taking a hit. I mean, I still see it up there at the Walmart. People, but it's all about convenience.
That's what it is.
If I can rent a movie on Amazon or buy the movie or whatever I want to do, and I can do it right from my phone or on the TV in the bedroom, and I don't have to go anywhere. That's what I'm going to do. And again, Amazon is a big player in that field, that specialty, whatever. And they see that, and I'm like, wow, man. So
they were smart because they saw this coming, and what I think happened is that the convenience of the personal computer and everything was supposed to make everybody's life easier. But what happened was a lot of companies saw, wait a minute, now we could take a 40-hour work week and we could cram it down into, let's say, a series of like 15 hours. Mm-hmm. So now we got all this extra time. What else could we fill it up with? So what happened, people tend to actually work longer, and, it's about the same amount of pay. So people are just tired. A lot of people don't want to go out like they used to. So they stay home, the convenience. And that's what has happened. And that's why you see this huge decline in the live music scene. Back in the day in the 80s, if anyone's gigged back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, people used to go out. Now, why should they? You got a Bose system. You got like a 100-inch screen TV. You could watch any live concert you want. And guess what?
Yeah.
And you could get drunk, and you don't have to worry about getting a DUI.
That's right. You can get blitzed right here, and you have your own little movie cinema set up right here. Here's a comment that I just saw, Dave. It's very interesting. Samuel comments. He says, "My wife and I were talking the other day about how we miss going to rent movies. I remember when that was a really a cool deal back then when you had, VHS tape rentals. You go up there and you'd rent it. Remember, you'd open it up and have that sticker, "Be kind, rewind." You had to make sure the thing was rewound, because if you didn't, they would charge you a fee because you didn't
they would
rewind the
charge you a
movie.
fee.
And I remember the video rental store in the old town I lived in. They actually sold the videotape rewinder
Yes,
little
remember
machines,
that?
and yeah, they were like $10, and I bought one of them. Because I was like, because what I was doing was I was burning out the motor in my VCR to rewind the movie.
Yeah.
So I'd take it out and I'd snap it in there, close it, and I put it
good
back.
to go.
I was good to go. That was cool. But yeah, that was always a cool deal because you'd go in there, whether it was the town I lived in, it was like this, what I call like a mom and pop's video rental location. It wasn't Blockbuster, nothing. It was just a small operation. But you'd go in there and they'd have it, you know how it was back. And they'd have all the lights in it, now playing, and all this stuff. And they'd have the popcorn over here. There's, they were chasing after Blockbuster's theme a lot, but it was cool. You'd look at the posters and I was like, man, I wonder what we can rent this weekend or this Friday, whatever. And then that whole experience went away. But yeah, Sam, you're right, man. I remember that, and it was really cool back then. It was I enjoyed that.
It wasn't, again, it was an event. You planned, you had your weekend planned out, man. It was great. Now let me ask you this question, Joe. So did you do the tape thing also with the videotapes when they would bust, like the cassette tapes? You tape the tape.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
you got any Scotch tape? Yeah.
That's what I used to do with the Scotch tape.
Yeah.
And one time, and it would always happen on our, we used to always record our rehearsals, right? So it always happened on one of our own recordings. And then one time I took the Scotch tape and I was able to take my X-Acto knife and cut it real nice. But the tape got flipped and I forgot it got flipped. So what happened was when it came to that section, now here you are, you're playing backwards, only for that short amount of time. And then boom, it come back,
Yeah. Here we are. That's like, what's going on here? I think Dave was high right there on that song. I'm sorry, y'all.
He exhaled.
Yeah. What happened to him? Let's see. Let me check out these couple of comments. We have a great time here on the Dave and Joe Show. Mark Dillon comments. He goes, clubs were packed in the 80s and the early 90s. When there was a live rock band. Oh, yeah. Those were the good old days. Absolutely, man.
Those were the days, man.
Yes, those were the days. JJ Collins, I miss it too. I think it's talking about the video rental era we were just talking about. I miss it too. When I was a kid, my family used to get movies usually every Friday night. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At the end of the week, man, you'd say, okay, let's go see what movies we can rent. And you'd get like a pizza or something. You bring it back home and pop the movie in there and you get the remote and you'd fast forward past all the previews, get past the, coming soon. Like, oh, come on, man.
Fast forward.
But so things have changed so much, man, with music, technology, Redbox, renting movies, and, we talk about Amazon. We're touching all kind of subjects tonight on the Dave and Joe Show. All kind of cool stuff.
Back in the day, a lot of us remember we used to go when we go to the movie theaters. You go out to a dinner and see the movie. And I remember summer 1975. It was one of the greatest reenactments of all times. Jaws.
Oh wow!
Literally, Joe. The line was wrapped around the block at the United Artists Music movie theater downtown Chicago.
Right.
And if R2R3 is still in the chat, and if he remembers all the movie theaters we used to have downtown Chicago, and then up by the Aragon Ballroom, we had the Riviera, and then we had the Uptown Theater. They would show movies. Now the Riviera. The last time I was there, we saw the G3 concert with Bill Ciacciani, Steve Vai, and Yngwie Malmsteen. And
I got that on DVD. Yeah. I never got to see any of those live, but I got almost all of them on DVD. But now I've replaced them now with the digital copies from Amazon. And
see.
I remember when that first one came out, it had Satch and Steve Vai and Eric Johnson. I remember that.
Remember that?
And I was like, wow, I actually had a poster of that, and it said G3, and I was like, G3, and that was when I saw that Joe Satriani had shaved his head, and I was like, whoa, man, what did he do? You know, and
he did a Britney Spears, you know.
Yeah.
Oops, I did it again.
Yeah. Oh man.
Now the ceiling matches the floor, huh? The mystery's over.
Yeah. Whew. Oh man. But I'm gonna tell you what, man. I've had the honor of seeing that man twice perform live, and the first time it was during the Flying in the Blue Dream tour.
That was awesome.
So that tells you how long that was. I was in high school, man, and then I got to see him. He was part of the Experience Hendrix tour. That was probably, man. Hey, when was that? 2009, 2010, give or take, maybe, 2012 at the most. But yeah,
we got Vintage Sounds. I think Vintage Sounds is on.
Hey, Vintage Sounds, Jamie,
what's happening, man?
Thank you for hopping in, brother. Thank you, man. But yeah, so I got to see Satch twice, and when he was on that Experience Hendrix tour, and he come out and he played. I still remember what song he played. He played All Along the Watchtower.
Oh, nice,
I remember that. Yeah, because I was like, man, God, dog. So yeah, that was a great show.
You see, Joe, stuff like this is what would inspire us to go home and you practice and you just whip the gun, dude, and you're up all night, man.
Man, when I saw that show, or even if I see a real good one on YouTube or whatever, when I see it fires me up. I'm like, man, I want to play. And I'll come in here and I'll start noodling around, and next thing you know, 2 hours just went by, and I'm like, my God, I gotta get into bed, But but that's such a good feeling to have and that's called inspiration.
Yeah,
when you get inspired to want to. You're like, man, that guy played his tail off, and then I'll come in here and I'll try playing something. I don't know, whatever. But it's I remember when I went to that show, and I got back home the next day, because I went to Atlanta to see it with a former band member. He actually bought my ticket for me. And I thought that was really nice, of him to do that. And came back, and I think I played Hendrix stuff for like a week. Because it was, I was just so enamored with all the cool musicians that were there, the bands, and man, I was like, God Almighty! I said, can you imagine being on that tour? That was, like the dream gig of dream gigs. It was just like, I mean, God, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
And Joe Satriani, he's such a down to earth guy. Let's see. I think one of my former students, Mark, my good friend, he works for Walt Disney. He's the one that we were able to stay at his house during the Hurricane Irma for a little while there. And he met Joe Satriani, and he says, man, the guy is such a down-to-earth guy, no egos or anything like that,
No, he's really cool. It's I mean, I've never met him, but you can just see that in the interviews. Yeah, it comes across. That's just
and the good people like that. The ones that are smart like that, they know that this industry, it's a fluctuating income. Joe, I tell people, before you quit your job, make sure you got a crap load of money that you could float your boat, because all the road shows we've done, we self-funded ourselves, man, and we at least broke even, because see, Deb's smart. She's not going to say, all right, we're going to go do this gig, and we're going to drive across the states, and we're going to wind up down in Texas, and then we're going to lose money. She ain't going to take a gig like that unless we know we could make some money. Because what a lot of people forget? This will blow your mind. This goes back to what we said earlier. They'll buy the expensive guitars, nothing but the best, right? The best pedals, nothing but the best, because I'm a touring musician. I got to have this, that, and the other. But you know what they neglect? They neglect to change the oil on their car, rotate the tire. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then they're stuck in the desert on the way back. Now their car broke down. Or they forget that there's time zones.
Yes.
So we always try to look at what's the time zone there. When we do these gigs, we want to get there at least 2 hours before, because we want to be able to have it when we set up, to be able to do it nice and comfortable if they give us that time, and then do a quick sound check and just feel relaxed. Because especially these outdoor gigs, you're at the mercy of the outdoor elements.
Oh man. Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
On these road shows that you're talking about, how long did you do that?
oh my God, we were doing those for about a good solid 8 years.
When did you
Yeah,
start doing? When did you start
we
doing that? And then
we we
when did you decide to finish not do it no more?
well, we just took a break from it 2017 when we got down here.
Oh, okay.
So we started doing that 2000 and 2005, I think. So maybe it was longer than 8 years. Because I know in '06 we played in Ireland, in Killarney, Ireland. And 2007 we did the gig for NATO. And you see, here's the thing: how we got those gigs. Um, okay, the different styles of music. See, I don't agree when they look down on rock and metal, but the sad thing is, the majority of people with money, they look down at rock and metal because they think there's nothing but a bunch of idiots, and that is so far from the truth. So I would be at some of these meetings. Okay, we're gonna do this, that, and the other, and then they'd say, "Yeah, I like the way you play because you're not like all these idiots. You could play that nice classical guitar, and then you could rock it out, and you could do this, that, and the other." But it would kind of hurt my feelings that that's how they look at rock and metal, because that's not how everybody is. But because of what they've seen, that's the picture that they paint. So when we did the gig over in Europe, we got those gigs not because of we did this cover. See, this goes back to also the cover bands. All you got to do is play well. If you could play well, whether you're doing a cover song or something that's got strong rhythm, I'm telling you, it'll grab somebody's attention. And if you grab people's attention who have money, then they're the ones that are going to start giving you all these connections. And a lot of it, that's how we were able to get the connections.
That's very, very cool. That's cool, man. We'll have to do another show sometime where we just talk about just your road show experiences.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool to.
I would love to hear about all that, just to see how that got started, what all went into that to make a living from that. I mean, not to get into numbers or nothing like that.
Oh
but
no,
I mean,
but I give you I could give you like good ballpark figures when we get on that, because it's something that would help a lot of people. So, first and foremost, if you want to do something like that, make sure you got some money saved or you got some sort of financial cushion, because anything could happen when the economy tanked. Ooh, that's when a lot of things are going to tank.
Oh yeah. Let me hit Jamie. Yeah. Vintage Sounds. He's saying hey. He's saying hey, and
yep.
He Vintage Sounds says let's see. He says I've seen Joe Satriani since he was playing. I've seen Joe Satriani since he was playing at the Bottom Line in New York when he was playing Not of This Earth. Wow, that is awesome.
That's right.
He was teaching guitar back then. Nobody even knew who he was back then. Wow, yeah. Because he was it Joe that was actually, I think, wasn't Joe like teaching guitar like in a music store or something? Or was he teaching out of his house? I can't remember.
He might have been teaching out of his house. I know he was teaching Steve Vai, and I cannot remember the whole story about Not of This Earth, but I do know he said he borrowed some money to get the record.
He got a credit card.
Credit card. That's what it was.
Credit card, and he said with that credit card they gave him like a
you get a line of credit.
He had like a checkbook that came with it, so he could either use the card or use those checks that would take money off that line of credit, the same as a card, right? The same account. And he said he would he rented studio time, the cheapest he could find, and that was like at like 3 a.m. or whatever, whenever he could. And so he financed that first album with that credit card, and he said that he did all the stuff himself.
Yeah, and you did the drum machine. He had to
Yeah.
do it with the pads and the drum machine. He said he never wanted to do that again. But I'll tell you what, he was smart because he got a product out there. And you know what? I think what holds a lot of people from making that transition or getting their music out, first and foremost, they're afraid that they're gonna get ridiculed. You know what? You're not gonna please everybody all the time. But always remember this: anybody who wants at least get something out, don't worry if someone says, well, that's not that good or this is not that good. You know, the worst thing that's going to happen, worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to listen to these people, not do anything with it. And then there will be people that's going to like it. But over a course of time, you can start looking back and start to say, I wish I would have tried it. Or I wonder what would happen if I'd done this. When you start looking back on your life with regrets that maybe you should have tried something, then that's when it's bad.
Yeah.
Because the only person that really should never let a person hold you back creatively either wise. Because you know what, if you're going to spend your money and give it a at least a fair shot and see what happens, now you could say, hey, I did it with my money, I gave it a shot, and if it wasn't for me, at least I tried it. But I that's what holds a lot of people back. They'll listen to all these people with these, you know, constructive criticism is good and advice is always good. But I always tell people, don't even listen to me. Check it out for yourself. You want to get advice? This is what happened with me. It might not happen with you, but don't hold yourself back.
Right. Yeah. Don't hold yourself back. That's exactly right. Hey, Johnny Bean, what's going on, man? Johnny Bean's in the house.
Mr. Bean, Johnny Bean, the coffee bean.
He says,
no pun intended. Cheers.
Vintage Sound says that he likes our shirts, Rockin' Dave. He says, cool
shirts. Oh, great,
guys.
man.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah, he is sporting Darth Vader, and I'm sporting Eddie from the Van Halen 2 album.
I got this shirt. The main reason why I wear this shirt is because it's thin material and it gets the humidity today was hot down here, man. Holy crap.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it gets hot. I think, Joe, sometimes it gets even hotter by where you're at, and even where Jim Guidry's at. Yeah, because you're inland. At least we get the breeze from the Gulf, but when you guys don't get that breeze, man, holy crap.
No, we don't get no sea breeze here. Well, nothing. We don't get none of that, man. We don't get none of that. It's the problem here is the humidity. That's what's so bad.
Yeah.
You know, the humidity is horrible. But yeah, so you know, let's see what's on the agenda. What you got coming up, Dave? Any gigs coming up that you're going to do here soon?
I got another gig back at Tarpon Lodge Thursday. I gotta wait to see what Vince at this place is gonna do. He wants to move forward. See, they just acquired this place, and it's kind of like, I don't want to say like a biker bar, but it's a little mixture of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a prime location because he's in between two airports. One's a small private airport, another one is an international airport, and he's got down the road 2 hotels. So, especially when it's busy in season, he's going to be packed. And I'm already working on a really good working relationship with him. See, another thing that started happening down here is the red tide and the algae, and everyone's hitting the panic button because now they got to clean up the water, and everyone's they think they're going to, you know, they think they're going to get real sick, and some people have. But the only reason you get sick if you're doing something stupid, you know. But see, the news media has to report this, so then people hear this, then they get freaked out.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's right. Over. What's the word I'm looking for? Stuff is overdone with the news media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. Overdone. I see R2R3 says something about Lake Michigan breeze. R2, I used to go to Addison Rocks. Right there, man. Addison Rocks, and we had this thing called the Point. It would be a concrete round block, and someone painted it like an old style can back in the day. And we used to hang out there and do our jam sessions right by Lake Michigan. So that's one thing I like about Florida. I always associate our coastlines here with Addison Rocks because as a kid, that's what we used to do. Have our jam sessions outside and hang out at some of the blues clubs when we could get in because we were all underage kids, man, and we get chased out.
How did you how did y'all come to the decision to move to Florida? How did that come about? You just said, let's just move there, or was there
Well,
a business opportunity, or
it
what
was
happened?
more of a business opportunity, and originally we were not going to do this for like another 10 years. You
Oh,
know,
okay,
uh,
okay,
uh, first we were going to choose Florida, but then we started liking Texas because we were doing some of the gigs in Texas.
oh,
And then with all the road shows, you know, the reality was we were sleeping in our car in the truck stops and rest areas. And sometimes we'd be in a hotel, but sometimes we didn't have enough time for a hotel because we had to hurry up and go. So then we were going to get an RV and do the full time RV living. And that's why you'd see us at these RV shows.
I was
And
wondering about that. I remember
that's
seeing.
exactly why.
I was like, oh, cool. There's an RV show, and I thought, oh, are they going to get an RV and go camping or something? I didn't know
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
connection was, but now I
Yeah.
got. And
That
I
it,
like the RV where it had like the thing on the back, and you said you could use this for a small stage, and I was like,
oh,
oh,
yeah.
that is cool.
Those are
Yeah,
called toy haulers. You know, some people they want
yeah,
to got their motorcycle or ATVs and they pull it in a little garage in the back. But you
yeah,
could convert the garage into a recording studio, and that ramp will pop up to be like a porch. You could
yeah.
convert it into a stage. So here's
Stage.
the thing, with this whole change of how the music is changing, you know, and this we'll talk more in depth in the next show. But the opportunities as a musician, even though things are dwindling in one sector, like the clubs, they open up in another sector. For instance, you could go to certain campgrounds because you could have people that's doing full time RV living. And if you're a traveling musician, that's one of the best ways to go because you're going to be going from show to show. It is good if you're an IT person because you could always have steady income coming in,
Right.
but everything's changing out there, you know? So that's
Yeah.
why we were going to the RV. And then how we got down here is that eventually um, the state of Illinois kept jacking up the corporate taxes. And some of our booking agents that we were using, they're based out of Illinois. And we were doing all these shows for like ExxonMobil, iLandscaping, Morale Realty Company. So what happened was they were hitting the panic button because corporate taxes were going up. So companies have to pull back on their entertainment. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So that Deb and I had an opportunity to come down to Florida, and Florida is there's no state income tax down here.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So by
there
us
you go.
coming down here, we save about $400 per month on living costs.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Okay.
it's like, okay, it's the opportunity.
That's great. That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
do you see yourselves staying there?
I think so. I'm liking it a lot more, and Deb loves it. And there's so much to do down here because it is a tourist state. So you have all these places that are kind of iconic, um, and if we ever do some of the traveling, we'll see how much more traveling we could do right within the state of Florida, and then again we could start hitting up by you guys, going to Tennessee, and we could go through through Texas because I have a friend of mine from high school. She lives in Garland, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, Texas, and we used to play in the Dallas Fort Worth, Texas area quite often.
Oh,
So we
that's
could still
awesome.
go there and visit Jim Guidry. Although Jim did say that they used to have a nice music scene in Shreveport, but I guess a lot of that dried up,
Yeah, I
like
remember
it does everywhere.
Told me quite a while back that the music scene in Shreveport used to be really good. It was really, especially in the '80s and '90s, it was a really good place, a hotbed for great music. And then it just over time it just dissipated. Just like you said, just like a lot of other places too.
Yeah, that's what really
Just
happens.
things have just changed, man. When I was younger, a lot younger, in my teenage years, uh, my parents we always went to this campground. It was called Lake Myers up in Mocksville, North Carolina, and that's when I first saw a guy playing guitar. That was when I first saw
Oh wow.
somebody in front of me actually playing, and then after that is when I really heard Eddie Van Halen. Because I now my ears were on the lookout, paying attention. Before then I wasn't. Yeah, you hear a guitar, he's like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever, whew, right over the head, right? And
Right.
so, but they had a they had a place at the campground. And when I was growing up, that was the place to be, man. It was a whole lot of the kids that were my age and my age group that were there. They had an arcade. They had water slides. They had Olympic-sized pools. They had putt-putt. It was a really nice place back then. They've let it kind of go to crap now, but I still remember the time when there was this band that was there. They were warming up. They were, getting there in the afternoon, and they were unloading their U-Hauls and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And they were their own roadies and all that stuff. They were getting all their stuff set up, and this guy was playing a Fender Strat, and it was like a sparkly blue with a white pick guard, and he's sitting there playing, and he had like this little, I don't know, it might have been a 2x12. I can't remember, but he was sitting there warming up, and I don't know, he was just like doing these scales, doing like legato type stuff to the best of my recollection. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I just stopped and I looked at that guy, and he just it's real smooth. There wasn't, and I was like, man, I looked at my buddy, I said, do you hear that guy? And he's like, yeah, what's he doing? I said, that guy's killing on that guitar. And I said, let's walk over there, man. So we walked over there, and I had a jam box at the time. I had this jam box, had a cassette, built-in cassette deck.
Yeah, the boom boxes. Yep.
Yeah, boom boxes. So yes, vintage sounds. I like Molly Hatchet. Yes, I do.
Yeah, Molly Hatchet. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Southern rock. Cool, man. Paul Rodriguez. Hey, man, how are you? And
what's up, buddy?
And so, and 38 Special. Absolutely. Yeah. And so we walk over to watch this guy, and he's playing, and I didn't know, shit from Shinola when it came to guitar stuff. I didn't, just to be blunt with you, I didn't know. The guy's like, hey, I said, hey, man, my name is Joe, and this is my buddy. I introduced my buddy. And excuse me, I had to cough. And I said, do you mind if I just had a tape in there? I said, I'm going to turn this tape over, because on the B side was just nothing. It was blank. I said, can I just record you playing, warming up? And he was kind of, he seemed like he was humbled by that. I mean, you could tell this guy didn't have an attitude. He didn't have a rock star attitude. He was just a good guy, from what I could see at that brief moment. And he goes, you want to record me warming up? I said, yeah, if you don't, cause to me, you got to understand, I never had a guitar at this point in my life, and hearing somebody play like that, it just blew my freaking mind, and I said, yeah, if you don't mind. He said, no, that's cool. That's cool. And so he's playing, and my jaw was to the floor. I'm just like, golly, man, I'm holding this thing up close to his amp, I look at my buddy, and we just kind of laugh, like, man, that is badass, man. And,
right.
And he's kind of laughing, because he's like, he said this, because I remember I had it. I don't know what I did with that cassette tape. I lost it years and years ago, but I remember hearing him on the tape. He says, I never had nobody ask to record me while I was warming up at a gig. He goes, that's pretty wild. And he was like, I guess blown away that somebody would ask him that. I don't know. And he said, well, what would y'all like me to play? Well, I was like, shit, I don't know. And I said, I have no idea. Well, he said, what about, see if y'all recognize this? And he played this lick, or this riff rather. He played this opening riff to this song. At that time, I had no clue what it was. I didn't know what it was. I looked at my buddy. I said, you know what that is? He's like, no, I don't know what it is. And the guy said, oh, y'all, you know what that is? And he played it again. He said, you know what it is? Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. And I didn't know. I played it off. I said, oh, yeah, I thought that's what that was. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. But I saw him play, and then that night his band came on, and they played, Motley Crue, all the cool stuff of that time, because this was in like 80s, the summer of 86, right? Right in the heyday of that stuff. And so I knew then, I said, I want to get a guitar. I want to be able to try to do or come close to what that guy's doing. And so that was the summer of 86. And then fast forward to Christmas Eve of 86. That's when I got my first guitar.
Wow.
That's how all that started. And then of course,
how cool would this be, Joe, if this guy sees your channel and he says, hey, I'm the guy that you recorded. How cool would that be, man?
Hey,
Because you know what? Honestly, that's the guy that really inspired you because you actually
yeah,
seen him play.
yeah,
And you know, that's what the magic is. When you see someone do it, it's like it blows your mind.
yeah. I remember his first name. He never gave me his last name, and but I remember his first name. But it was cool. I just wish I still had that cassette tape. I
Yeah.
wish I still had that cassette tape, and why I don't know why it got lost. I don't know what happened. You know, you got to understand I was 16 years old then.
Yeah.
So that was, a long time ago, uh, uh 23 years ago. So, but, so anyway, that's how that story, and that's how my love for the guitar started,
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. You know, it
R2
does remind me. Well, I'm sorry about that.
R2 says his name was Eddie. And that was later. And hey, Mitch Heyman, how you doing,
Mitch
man?
Heyman.
How you doing? Go ahead, Dave. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt you. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, I'm sorry about that. What that reminds me of when I was a kid. I have the vague memories. 1969. I was just what 6 years old, and we had the hippies, and they were going to set up and do their band jam out in the courtyard of the apartment we live. Even when you're a little kid, a little small amp looks big to you. You know, it's just like the electric guitar looked like something from space. You know what I mean? It was,
Yeah.
the Stratocaster and all that. Everything had that futuristic look, and I thought, how cool was that? So it's almost the same thing what you had, but see, I think you had even better because you actually saw this guy play and you were able to record it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I was just a couple of feet from him,
Wow.
and that was really cool. But speaking of guitar players that blow my mind, this next guitar player's name I'm about to mention here. I never really got into that type of music or the artist that he was with first, and now he's with somebody else now. I never really. I don't know. It wasn't anything. I don't know why. I don't know. I just never paid it no attention until this past week, and it came up on my YouTube feed. The guitarist name is John Five.
John
And
Five. Okay.
John Five, formerly of Marilyn Manson. Now
Yeah.
I think he's still with Rob Zombie. And my son loves John Five. He's got one of his signature Fender Squier Telecasters.
Nice.
Yeah. And so for whatever reason, it popped up on my feed this past week. And it was where people were at one of John Five's shows, and he was doing what they call like a medley. And he would do all these different classics that he loved growing up, anything from Van Halen to Ted Nugent to Rob Zombie, White Zombie, whatever, Marilyn Manson. And he plays a little bit of each song, and they put it together. And it was killer, man. I was like, damn, it was he's the real deal, man. He's the real deal.
Oh yeah. Joe, see, the thing is, and then when you associate John Five as a guitarist prior to this, you probably figure, okay, yeah, he's kind of cool, I guess, but you really don't know exactly what he could do. And that's just it with a lot of these bands. You could watch someone from, let's say, Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah.
Now, not to say that everyone's going to get rid of their gear to go see the next Taylor Swift concert, but I can almost guarantee you, any one of these type of bands, when you see them live, you never see this on TV, but we see it live. Now it's time for the musicians to have fun and look out. One of my former students, this was about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe not that long, but it was before we left Illinois for sure. He says, Dave, you got to check out this video. He says, I said to him, whoa, what video is it? It's Madonna playing an electric guitar, and she's playing Pantera's Walk. I said, no, man. So sure enough, he pulls it up. She's dressed in black. She's got the black Les Paul, and she's going like this, and she's getting the feedback sustained, and it's like everyone's headbanging. I'm like, it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And then later on, I saw an interview, and she was taking guitar lessons, and she's learning how to play Stairway to Heaven. And I'm thinking to myself, now maybe these pop artists could understand what us guitar players, why we hated pop music, because it seems so lame from a guitarist's point of view. But if these pop artists, if you really think about it, a lot of them, they got very strong vocal melody. And because I don't sing, everything I do is instrumental. I'll key on that vocal melody. And I'll be straightforward with it, people. I don't maybe like certain styles of music, or I'm not a big fan of this person, that person, but you take the people like Karen Carpenter, Mariah Carey, even Madonna, and you listen on their vocal melody, and if you would mimic what you could do that on the guitar, it actually sounds great.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what some of these pop artists needed to do is, hey, pick up the electric guitar. Now you can see our world. And then, it's a sweet, but it goes to show you that you don't know who these people really are. You see another side of them. Now you see what John 5 really could do. It's like, wow, I didn't think the guy was that good, but he's fantastic.
I knew he was good. I just never listened to none of his music or nothing like that.
Oh yeah,
because I wasn't like a Marilyn Manson fan or nothing like that.
Yeah,
but I know he's done a bunch of solo albums. But J.J. Collins makes a statement, and I'm glad he said this. Thank you, Mr. Collins, because I was actually watching an interview with John 5 on YouTube that was, I don't know how old it was. Apparently it wasn't that old, but I didn't know that he played with David Lee Roth for an album. And J.J. Collins confirms that. He says, hey, Joe, he actually did an album with David Lee Roth in the late 90s, early 2000s that was really good. And I was wondering what era that was. I said, I didn't know he played with David Lee Roth. And but he did. R2R3 says Satchel is incredible too. Yeah, he's my son.
Oh yeah,
my son
Satchel?
just went from Steel Panther. My son just went to that show. Well, I think it was last weekend. He went to a Steel Panther show up here in Asheville, North Carolina, and he said it was incredible.
Pretty wild, yeah. It's interesting what J.J. Collins says. I might have that cassette tape. I remember. Let's see.
I need to find out. I need to find out what the name of the album is, because I'd like to look that up on my Google Play and just to check it out. But Vintage Sound says the Telecaster Master John 5. Yeah, you ain't lying. And I remember reading something in a guitar magazine. Maybe I want to say that Lynyrd Skynyrd actually needed somebody to play some stuff on an album. And somehow or another, John 5 got the job. And the article said that when John 5 walked into the studio, Lynyrd Skynyrd, they were kind of mocking him, making fun of him, because just the way he was, he's got a lot of tattoos and stuff.
Yeah.
But when he started, because he's really known for his country picking on the Telecaster.
Oh, yeah.
And they said when he started doing that, boy, they shut up. They shut up quick. And
real fast.
They gained respect for him like that. And I said, man, don't never judge a book by its cover, even though we all do it. We all do it. And I'm guilty of it all the time. But I thought that was wild. Vintage Sounds Roth was great on Skyscraper. Oh, I love that album, Skyscraper.
Oh yeah, we saw that tour, man. Me and my friends.
Yeah, that was his second solo effort when he left Van Halen, I believe. Skyscraper was the second album. Eat 'Em a Smile was the first. JJ Collins says it was called the DLR Band. I have the CD somewhere. Okay. Well, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Check that out.
Yeah, I have to stream that sometime on my Google Play and check that out. So, all right. Wow, what time is it? It is 11:34. Man, golly.
Holy crap, Joe.
How long have we been on here?
Forever.
I thought it was like we were hitting the 2-hour mark. This is like over 2.5 hours, man. Holy smokes.
Wow.
My bad. God almighty, time flies.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it does.
No, don't apologize. It ain't bothering me at all. I didn't mean to hold you up, because I know you.
Oh no.
I
was getting into it, yeah.
And hey, Shifty, what's going on, man? Shifty comes in right under the wire. Right under the wire.
Shifty, what's happening, man?
What's going on, Shifty? So, Dave, what else? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to touch on that we didn't touch on?
Just that subscribe to everyone's channel. Buy Joe's products of merchandise. We got merchandise for sale too. Check out Joe's videos, man. I love when you do your live jamming, man. That is so inspiring, man.
Thanks,
so
man.
Inspiring.
Thank you.
And I will be doing we'll see how the weather is tomorrow because we might be getting a bad storm. I was gonna try to do a quick gig in the R2R3 um, and spotlight some of the YouTubers out there with their songs. You know, I really would like everything to kind of like lighten up with this copyright crap that's going on.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know, one of the main reasons why I keep getting hit is because they know I'm for profit with our company. We just switched over our music company from Transacoustic Productions to Dave Byron Music LLC. But our attorney says now that's going to take a couple of months because everything's got to, it takes a while for everything to get transferred over and that. So, but you see, the thing is, we're registered, and that's why I've been getting hit. And they'll start dinging me here and there.
Really? Wow.
Copyright. Oh yeah, because you see, they know they lost money. They know, all right, you're out there making money. So what are you doing? And there's a guy named Detroit Wrecker. He's got a YouTube channel. He works on trucks. He also plays, but he put on a video up maybe about a month ago, so ago. He said if people think that if you're going to have any type of music business, do it as an LLC, at least that, because you could protect yourself because the government sooner or later they're going to hit you and they want their money. And if you think you could float, without being seen, it's only a matter of time because the problem is everyone, part of with this new technology is now it's digital promotion. So everything that goes on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, here's our next show. We're gonna be here, there. People now, it's so easy for anybody on the receiving end to say, "Hey, I wonder what Joe Wentz is doing. Does he owe us any money? Did he pay his back taxes or whatever the case might be?" And they start hitting some buttons and they go on to your, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
That's
don't
how
know
they
pay
do
no
it.
money.
Good.
Crease the girl. Get that collection plate in here. Put that stuff in the bag and let's get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here. Go to the YMCA, man.
Lock the door tight.
But yeah, so that's why, if anyone's going to do anything like that, just, if you think you're going to get away with something, and nowadays you're not, man.
Yeah,
Just be careful out there.
So what I always get hit with, I'll get the notification saying that any revenue that is made, which I don't monetize the videos, when the algorithm picks it up and says, "Oh, this is a cover song," it automatically says YouTube or whoever, they automatically monetize it. But if there's any revenue, which is very, very, very little, it goes to somebody else and not to me. And it says this claim is not penalizing you or your account in any way. And I'm cool with that because it's not my song. I don't have an issue with that, and it don't. But you being a registered business,
this is where they,
I don't know. I mean, to me that's something that I'm not familiar with at all.
And the only reason why we had to do that, Joe, is because we, with all our, we still have our CDs out there that we're selling, but we had to register and get that copy written and everything. So, now it comes up in the registration, department. Oh yeah, Dave Byron, he's still active playing. He hasn't released a CD in a little while, but he's still in our list as active business. And this is how they're getting, because I don't know if this happened to you or anyone else out there, but literally one of the videos that we put up, one of our live streams we did, I was sitting in bed watching the replay, and all of a sudden it was like, remember that back in the day, you're watching a videotape and in play mode you hit fast forward and it goes through the video. You know what I mean? The whole video set's going real fast. Well, that's what happened in one of my videos. It just all of a sudden was going through like real fast, like someone was fast forwarding it. And then I got this boom notification, copyright infringement. We're gonna pull this video, and then they contacted us. I don't know, through the internet. They did something, and then
wow.
Okay, this is where you start getting these strikes. And it's like, oh, okay. So I told Mike, I says, Mike, I can't put up any of our live streams with these covers.
Oh, that's why I haven't seen
that. That's why.
Okay, I got it.
So
Arvon Gaunt, he makes a statement. He says that's where stage names come in handy sometimes, like Cher.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very cool.
Because if you do something, this is why Prince had to come out later you know, the artist formerly known as Prince, because they were blackballing the Prince name, the brand. So now he couldn't go out there. Now he had to change like this. This happened to a blues guitarist back in Chicago. One of my friends that had a recording studio told me, and I forget the guy's name. He said for 10 years he couldn't go out there with his birth name because he used his birth name like I'm using my birth name, and something happened. And this falls in the 360 deal before it was known as a 360 deal. Watch what you sign because they could own you and you can't do anything. For 10 years, this poor guy couldn't work. He had to do something as, you know, another name. But then he wasn't getting a draw because they didn't recognize the name. It's crazy out there. It's nuts.
That is crazy. Speaking of Prince, I believe today is his birthday.
So happy birthday, man.
Happy late birthday to Prince Rogers Nelson. Yeah. Huge Prince fan. Always loved
he was a great musician, man. He was one of the best.
Incredible musician. I mean, just unbelievable. I got a couple of audiobooks about him, and wow, man, his practice regimen was unbelievable.
It was deep. There was an album one of my friends had. The album, it was called For You.
Yeah,
by Prince.
This is like his first album.
Yeah, and it was one of the songs on there. I mean, he was doing this really heavy groove. I mean, it was like, okay, this is the musician side of him playing as a musician for musicians. Because, you know, a lot of us, we also grew up and went through that whole 1970s jazz fusion thing, and that was influencing a lot of people, man. And that helped influence progressive rock. And, you know, now you got bands like Dream Theater and all these other bands, Symphony X and all that. Even though it's not jazz, a lot of that came from that era. So that's where Prince got a lot of that stuff. Bands like Earth, Wind, and Fire and all that, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's awesome. Let's see. He's vintage sounds. What does he say? I need guys with a CDL to drive my tour bus. There you go.
There you go.
There we go. All righty. So, anything else, Dave? You want to touch on?
No, I think we'll save the next one for the next live chat, man.
Okay. Cool, man. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for taking the time to join in the chat. Thanks for commenting. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check the links below after this video processes for links to other YouTube channels. You'll see links below for merch if you want to do that, social media. Also, you'll see a link for my brand new single that's available now. You'll see it down below as well. Yeah, man. So I guess that's about it. I want to thank my co-host Dave Byron for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Joe, thank you so much, man. And everybody out there, thank you for all your support, man. This is, I tell you what, this is great. I always say it a lot, but it's like I'm like a kid in a candy store, you know?
Yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. And what I love about this is we can just kick back and talk about whatever we want to talk about. It doesn't have to be strictly guitar and touring. It can be about whatever. And then the people in the chat, you're all the ones that make the show. You know,
absolutely.
You comment and whatever, and that's kind of where the conversation will head. You know, so thank y'all for being here. I really appreciate it. And for Dave Byron and myself, the Joe Wentz Project TV, where guitars still live and breathe. We'll see you on the next episode. That'd be what, Dave? Week after next?
Yeah, week after next.
Week after next, we'll try it again. And thank y'all for being here. We'll see you next time. Be safe. Have a great week.
Rock on and God bless, guys.
Rock on. See you guys. Bye-bye.